Good evening. Welcome to the Design Review Board meeting of September 25th, 2025. The DRB meeting is now called to order. It is now 5:03 p.m. Please refrain from talking amongst yourself during the meeting, and please silence your mobile phones at this time. The DRB meeting is being broadcast live on Glendale TV, viewable on Spectrum Cable and Channel 6, and AT&T U-verse Channel 99. Meetings are also streamed live in high definition on the city's webpage, glendaleca.gov/live, on youtube.com/myglendale, and on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire devices using a free app called Cablecast, choosing Glendale TV from the menu. Meetings are also archived on the city website for viewing at any time at glendaleca.gov/agendas. For public comments and questions during the meeting, please call 818-937-8100. City staff will be submitting questions and comments in real time to the appropriate person. Current DRB agendas and staff reports are available by visiting our website at www.glendaleca.gov. Record of decisions for all projects will be posted online on the Planning Division's website. Please note that any appeal of the case heard today must be filed within 15 calendar days of the DRB decision date. Meetings are also archived. The appeal application is available online on glendalepermits.com. This will be roll call. Board Member Halajian?
Present.
Board Member Welsh?
Present.
Mr. Chair Kaskanian?
Present.
With the other two board members absent of Danielle Lockref and Art Simonian once again being absent. Reports regarding posting the agenda. The agenda of the September 25th, 2025 regular meeting of the Glendale Design Review Board meeting was posted on the city's website and on the bulletin board outside the City Hall on September 18th. Moving on to approval minutes. We do have approval minutes of, from our last meeting on September 11th, 2025. Do we have any comments or do we have a motion for these approval of minutes?
I'll move to adopt the minutes.
Okay, we have a move to approve the motion for the minutes.
Second that motion.
Okay. Board Member Halajian.
Yes.
Board Member Welsh.
Yes.
Mr. Chair Kaskanian.
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Oral communications, discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Design Review Board may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. Do we have any speaker cards?
No speaker cards.
Okay.
No speaker cards.
Since we have no speaker cards in regards to oral communication, does the board and commission members have any comments? Being none, and also being none that we have no old business, I'm going to move on to the new business. The first item is going to be at 1727 Wabasso Way. I'm going to turn this over to our case planner, Columba Diaz, and she will provide an overview of the project and staff's analysis and presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Joe.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Joe. Good evening, Design Review Board members and members of the public. The subject project is 1727 Wabasso Way, Design Review Case PDR 004879-2025. The project site is located in the mid-eastern part of the city, consisting of a 16,200 square foot regular shaped interior lot with a slight uphill slope. Access to the property is from the north side of Wabasso Way. Originally developed in 1923, the site is currently developed with an existing one-story, 1,656 square foot single-family ranch-style residence with a detached two-car garage at the rear. Research and analysis conducted by preservation staff finds that the property is not eligible for historic designation at the federal, state, or local level and is therefore not considered a historic resource under the California Environmental Act. The project proposes the demolition of the existing residence and detached garage. The private arborist report recorded 3 city street trees and 1 indigenous western sycamore tree on the neighboring property to the west. No impact to these trees is anticipated. A condition of approval is recommended to obtain the required permits from urban forestry to ensure the protection of the existing trees. The neighborhood fabric consists of 1- and 2-story homes with various architectural styles, including single-story minimal traditional, Spanish, ranch-style homes, as well as a 2-story modern Mediterranean style residence, which is located on the right-hand side of your screen. The proposed single-story residence will be primarily located on the existing flat and graded area of the site, which will extend the building towards the footprint, towards the center of the lot. The project will involve approximately 380 cubic yards of cut and 200 cubic yards of fill. The existing driveway will be widened to 14 feet to provide adequate access to the proposed attached three-car garage, which will have a 90-degree entry from the driveway. The proposed one-story home with an attached three-car garage will increase the existing street front setback, from 25 feet to 33 feet and will primarily be located on the existing flat graded area, as mentioned prior. The project includes a new in-ground pool with an accessory dwelling unit at the rear. Design Review Board review is not under the purview for an ADU. The location of the garage is consistent with the garage placement of some of the neighboring homes. A condition of approval is recommended to update the plans to include product specifications of the proposed pavers for the driveway and walkway to be decorative and compatible with the overall design concept and colors. The project is removing the existing chain link fences along the east and west property side lines and proposes a new 6-foot-high block boundary wall with side gates, which will be slightly set back from the wall corners at the front facade. An additional condition of approval is recommended to update the plans for the proposed boundary walls to be decorative on both faces and to identify the height and materials of all existing and proposed retaining walls to be compatible with the proposed design, concept colors, and meet zoning requirements. The proposal consists of a new 3,620 square foot, one-story single-family house with 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, and a 721 square foot attached three-car garage. The overall proposed height will be 22 feet and 2 inches, which is less than the maximum allowed height of 28 feet for the zone, applicable to houses with pitched roof of minimum 3 to 12 pitch. The proposed roof design reinforces the French country-style design concept and consists of pitched and gable roofs. However, a condition of approval is recommended to simplify the 3 entry front gables and modify the front roof plan for the quantity and placement of the dormers, windows, and vents to avoid intersecting roof ridges and achieve symmetry on the exterior elevations. A condition of approval is also recommended to show the location and design of any new exterior light fixture to be appropriately designed and located to avoid spillover and overlit facades. The black aluminum windows are appropriately placed and are consistent with the architectural style. No windows from public rooms directly face neighboring properties, maintaining privacy. A condition of approval is recommended requiring the plans and details to be modified so that the windows are recessed in the exterior walls. In order to minimize visual impact of a larger single-story building to avoid the sense of overbearing forms or monumentality, a condition of approval is recommended to reduce the proposed roof pitch of 8 to 12 and to ensure the interior clear height of the roof attic is less than 6 feet. The proposed light color fascia boards and custom wood double doors are appropriate for the architectural style. The 3 lamp posts along the front property line are appropriate in height and style. However, the drawings do not indicate exterior lights. The overall design and colors and detailing are appropriate for the proposed French country style and include custom wood entry and garage doors, copper dormers, stucco finish, limestone veneer with German schmear finish, copper gutters and downspouts, black aluminum clad windows, and metal side gates. As it relates to public comments, staff did not receive any written comments. Staff recommends approval with the following conditions. Update the plans to include the product specifications for the proposed pavers in the driveway and walkway to be decorative and compatible with the architecture and overall design concept colors. Obtain required permits from the Maintenance Services Division, Urban Forestry, prior to issuance of the building permit and construction. Update the plans for the proposed 6-foot-high boundary walls to be decorative, facing the subject property and neighbors, and to identify the height and materials of all existing to remain, and propose retaining walls to be compatible with the proposed design, concept colors, and meet zoning requirements. Lower the overall height by reducing the proposed roof pitch of 8 to 12, and to ensure the interior curlier height of the roof attic is less than 6 feet. Simplify the three entry front gables and modify the roof plan for the quantity and placement of the dormers, windows, and vents to avoid intersecting roof ridges and achieve symmetry on the exterior elevations. Modify the plans and details for the windows to be recessed in exterior walls. And finally, clearly show the location and design of any new exterior light fixture to be appropriately designed and located to avoid spillover and overlit facades. This concludes my presentation. I am available for questions. In front of you, you were given some additional items that were printed as part of your packet for this item. These were delivered by the property owner yesterday, and staff has not had full time to review all the details of the attached items, but the owner will elaborate during their allotted time for the presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
No.
No? All right.
And we
So
don't have any callers.
Callers? Okay. I have 2 speaker cards here. First one we have is Sevag Hairapetyan, and then we also have the architect, Craig Stoddard. I don't know who wants to go first. If you could just state your name for the mic, please.
Yes. Good evening, Design Review Board. My name is Sevag Hairapetyan. I'm the owner at 1727 Wabasso Way. My wife and I purchased this property years ago with the vision of building our family home. With our children growing, now we are ready to bring this dream to life. The home is designed in a French country style with historic and elegant architectural features. The architect has shown consideration for our neighborhood by choosing a single-story design. The roof height is well below the 28-foot maximum permitted in the R1 zone. The 8/12 roof pitch complies with city zoning, building codes, and design guidelines. We actually reduced the pitch from 10/12 to 8/12 when designing the house. The pitch is essential to the country French style, and reducing it any further would undermine the integrity of this style. I wish to address condition number 4 from planning staff, which suggests lowering the roof pitch or height to keep the attic space below 6 feet. Following my discussions with our case planner, I understand that the purpose of this condition is to prevent usable floor space in the attic, rather than specifically addressing our roof pitch or height, which there are many examples of in our neighborhood. And that was part of the additional attachment that I provided. Anyhow, we satisfied this condition by increasing the ceiling height below and reframing the roof to reduce the attic height below 6 feet. It is now 5 foot 6 inches. Our attic space is exclusively for mechanical equipment and ducting and does not add any additional living area. So I'll turn it over to Craig, our architect, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Craig? Hello, Craig. If you could please just state your name for the record.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, members of the board. I'm Craig Stoddard, the architect. Sevig said a whole bunch of stuff that I was just going to say. But excuse my casual dress. I just recently got a new hip, and so they want me to wear loose clothing for a little while. But first, I'd like to thank our planner, Columba. Thank you. Thank you for your help with this and your presentation. Yeah, we started out, actually, originally we started out briefly looking at a 2-story version, and we ended up shifting to 1-story pretty quickly because that just made more sense in that neighborhood. And the owner is very fond of French country homes, so we wanted to stick with that style. Just moving on, as far as condition number 5, the 3 front entry gables, I think you might have a little 8.5 by 11 sheet of a revised front elevation showing just 2, showing just 2 gables, and we actually like it. We actually have no problem with that. It seems to make sense. I did notice that if, I was looking at the gables and I wasn't quite, I mean, the dormers up on the roof. If the one on the right feels like it needs to be adjusted a little bit, I mean, we could, but I didn't quite understand exactly what adjusting the dormers was leading to. But I have no problem with the 3 gables in the front. That makes sense. With regards to the lowering the roof pitch, I couldn't agree with Sevic more. We actually looked at lower roof pitches, and you start to lose the flavor of French country. It starts to, and the dormers don't work. So we would really like to try to maintain the 8 and 12, and there's a number of things, a couple of them that Sevic already mentioned. To reduce the attic space, we want to raise the ceiling height in the front entry up to 12 feet. And also, we've included some structural ceiling ties at 5.5 feet above the ceiling joists. Our engineer's here, in fact, and he could certainly talk to you about that, but the intent is to have those be part of his structural plan so they become integral to the construction of the building. And the intent of that attic space is to be used for mechanical space. He's going to have 2 furnaces up there and ductwork all through there. I mean, that's going to use up whole space. Anyway, I'm happy to answer any questions if there's anything else.
Any questions?
I do, yes. So the little dormers that you have on the front, they seem to have glazing in them, yes? They're going to be actual windows?
Those 2 do have glass in them, yes.
Okay, but all the others, they look like they're solid, like a shutter
they're
look
solid,
or
yeah.
something in there,
Right,
something
yeah,
like that?
yes,
Okay,
Yeah, they're solid, yeah.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
As far as the other conditions that staff recommended, do you have any, are you willing to accept those as a design? Yeah?
Yeah, I especially like the one on recessing the windows. That'd look nice.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you said we had no callers, correct?
That's correct, no callers.
All right, so we'll close the public portion and go into deliberation. Board Member Lush, you want to get us going?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I support the project. I think that's, I agree with the applicant and the architect. I did not have any objection to the roof pitch. In fact, I agreed with you that if we had lowered the roof pitch, it wouldn't look as nice. So I'm perfectly fine with that. I did agree with simplifying those gable ends at the front. I thought it was just a little too busy. So this latest one, as long as we can have some kind of a stipulation or condition that this will be the final design, I'm fine with that. The only other area that I was questioning a little bit was on the far left-hand side of the facade, you have one bathroom that juts out a little bit, and so you have a little roof, hip that sticks out a little bit. That, to me, looked a little, excessive. You could maybe bring that back in line. I don't know if people really care that much about it. I did, it's not a big thing. I just think that it will be a little bit smoother and cleaner to pull that back in line with the regular and have it underneath the main pitch. But again, I don't have super strong opinion on that. So otherwise, I think that the design is very nicely executed. The materials are very nice. I really appreciate you keeping it 1 story. As you said, this is a predominantly 1-story neighborhood. There may be a few 2 stories around, but it's predominantly 1 story. So keeping it to that is much appreciated. And that's it. I support moving the project. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Welch. I'll go next. Overall, I'm in support of the project. I think you all have done a great job, and thank you so much for these additional pictures. Very helpful to see. I did drive around the neighborhood, and I think it's going to look really nice. The home, it's going to fit just perfectly. So overall, I'm in support of the project, and in regards to the conditions, agree with staff. And just to ensure that, whatever you guys sent us over here is what's going to be represented as well. So, yeah, overall in support. Thank you. Board Member Halajian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question to the staff. So increasing the height of the ceiling, does that satisfy your condition, I guess?
So once we review, basically, once the full drawing set is revised to address the conditions, as long as that attic space doesn't have a clear height of over 6 feet, it should satisfy zoning code, yes.
Very good, thank you. I mean, I guess, well, as far as the roof pitch goes, I agree with the design team. I think reducing the pitch does not serve well for the design intent. So, and since they increase the height of the ceiling and addresses the concern that the staff has, I'm perfectly fine with it, even though, I mean, I'll leave it to the homeowner, you know, increasing the ceiling height, you might find some limitation when it comes to material, you know, doors, et cetera, but I leave it up to you. You're gonna be using interior, so. Overall, I am in support of the project. I do like the conditions of recessing the windows. I think that was a great call. Also, I do appreciate the copper downspouts. I think that will look beautiful once it's all patina, and so overall, I'm in support of the project, so thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, so we can move forward.
So just for clarification, so we're probably going to be removing, what is it, condition number 4? Right, so, but all the other, well, condition 5 was relating to the front facade there, but since it's been changed, we could, I don't know, do we need to leave it, or we can just say,
So because these items were delivered after the report was completed, it does need to be part as of a condition, so the entire package is updated. Basically, what I'm hearing, so condition number 4 wouldn't disappear, it would just be modified. We would remove about the overall height and the pitch. So the condition number 4 would read, as to ensure the interior clear height of the roof attic is less than 6 feet, and to increase the interior ceiling height. Below.
wait, say that one more time?
So the entry, I guess, from the porch, since they are, it seems that they're proposing to increase that ceiling height to reduce the attic space above, and so it's not triggering, it's not over 6 feet. So that's, so condition number 4 would be, ensure interior clear height of the roof attic is less than 6 feet. We would just leave it at that then.
Just leave it at that. Yeah,
Okay.
okay, that's fine.
And then condition number 5, that was simplify the 3 front entry gables and modify the roof plan for the quantity and placement of dormers. So you guys were okay with the quantity of the dormers? Let me go back to that image. So, okay, the reason staff had mentioned about the right dormer was because it was hitting this roof ridge right here. That was part of that comment, but if you guys are okay with it?
I think it's okay. I mean, I think maybe the applicant might want to consider moving it over a little bit, but I don't necessarily think it's necessary for us to make a condition out of that.
Yeah, I think aesthetically it looks symmetry, maybe constructability-wise, I'll let them figure it out, so.
Yeah.
It's doable, but it might be a little bit challenging, so.
Okay, so then we would reword condition number 5 to simplify the 3 front entry gables. Do we want to specify to 2 because that's what's being shown, or?
Simplify.
Okay.
I think
So
what they've
simplify
already
the 3
done
front
is,
entry gables to modify the roof plan. Well, in this case, we wouldn't be modifying the roof plan if the dormers are remaining. Okay, so then simplify the 3 entry front gables, and then we will remove the dormer and avoid the intersecting. Otherwise, conditions 1, 2, 3 stay the same, and conditions 6 and 7 as well.
yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so with those
And then,
conditions,
sorry, Board Member Welsh, you had mentioned something to pull in line bathroom. I think it's in the floor plan. Are you referring to this laundry area up here?
no, it's on the lower right-hand corner there. See that little shower? Yes, that one that sticks out a
Oh,
little
okay.
bit. But again, I didn't hear any concurrence from the others, so.
put it as a consideration.
Yeah, we can add it as a consideration.
Okay. 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 All righty.
Okay?
Do
You
we
good? All right. So
ready
with
for a
that, I'll
motion?
move the project for approval with the conditions.
Okay.
Oh,
And
sorry,
be
one
considerate, and one consideration.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, and that was a motion by Board Member Welsh and a second by Board Member Halachian. Okay, are we ready for roll call? Okay. Board Member Halachian?
Yes?
Okay. Board Member Welsh?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chair Kasakanian?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. The motion carries 3-0 and 2 absentees.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Great, we're moving on to item B, which is located at 1335 Dorothy Drive. It's going to be case number DRB 004973-2025, and it's to construct a 552 square foot second-story addition above an existing one-story garage to an existing two-story home located on a lot that's approximately 10,000 square feet, zone R1, Florida District 1. I'm going to turn this over to the case planner, Nick Halati, and he's going to need a couple seconds here to start up his presentation, so just bear with us just for a couple seconds here.
Sounds good.
Yep.
And just wanted to remind everyone, if anyone wants to speak, to please make sure to fill out one of these speaker cards located right here, and then you could pass it over here to us. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Kaskanian, members of the board. My name is Nicola Hladi, Senior Planner here at the Glendale Planning Division. Second item before you tonight is second-story addition at the property at 1335 Dorothy Drive, case number PDR-004973-2025. The proposed work includes the demolition of the roof over the existing garage and office over the north side of the building, a 552 square foot addition over the one-story portion of the house. The addition has a rectilinear contemporary design that contrasts with the home's existing traditional architecture. The project maintains the chimney on the north side of the building and extends it upwards to go over the height of the parapet wall of the addition. And in the rear yard, the project includes a new raised wooden deck, planter, seating, and steps at the rear of the house. The subject property is in the R1 zone, floor area, District 1, north of Glen Oaks, east of Pacific Ave. It's just over 10,000 square feet in size, and it's developed with an existing 2,082 square foot, two-story single-family residence with an attached two-car garage built in 1940 and a 325 square foot accessory structure in the rear yard. Here are the photos of the existing home from the street and from the rear yard. So a main central volume wing that projects towards the street with a brick chimney that's painted white, kind of has weathered paint on it, and then a one-story garage volume extending to the north. Here's a rendering of the proposed addition where you can see the rectilinear form over the existing garage that's been stepped in from the east and the north sides to add some articulation. So I will walk you through the site plan and the floor plans before discussing the conditions of approval and opening this up to public. Existing and proposed site plan are relatively the same. The addition is going over the one-story portion of the home. Here on the plan, you can see some new decking and a new patio area and some low planters extending between the existing home and the accessory structure to enhance the outdoor living area. Not too many changes to the first floor. Again, on this slide, you can see the patio additions in the rear. And on the second floor is where we see the addition. It's about 37 feet by 16 feet. It connects to the building via this opening. It includes a study, a bath, a walk-in closet, and then a primary bedroom master suite. And let me show you the elevations next. Flat roof, you can see the stepping in from both the garage floor below. It's about 2'6", and this is just under 5 feet there on the north side, so you can see how it steps in. And here we have our elevation drawings. So you can see 4 casement windows facing the street. Again, it's stepped back from the garage below. On the north side, there are no windows to protect the privacy of the neighboring properties to the north, whose rear yards are adjacent to the northern property line of the subject property, and an access door so that this area, which will include plantings, can be maintained. Here we see it from the south side. You can see a window facing the interior of the yard, providing natural light into the bedroom. And then the rear elevation, and here you can also see the cantilever, about a 6-foot cantilever from the end of the house to the rear. And then here you can see the rear elevation where you have some fixed windows and an operable window, again, providing daylight into the master bedroom suite. Your project plans included a series of renderings both from the front and from the rear. So here we can see the landscaping that's been proposed to sort of drape over this parapet wall. This is a 3'6" parapet wall above the garage, where the second floor is, again, below these casement windows. And then you can also see how it steps in from the side. The proposed addition will be clad in a light brick veneer, sort of creating a visual color and textural relationship with the home. But again, as you can see, the project is a notable and striking one in that it does propose sort of a contemporary addition that stands in contrast to the traditional style of the home. Staff appreciates the thought that's gone into this proposal and appreciates the intention of doing something sort of unique and different, and staff does recommend approval. But we've offered a couple of draft conditions to speak to a couple of the concerns that we saw in reviewing the plan. So these are noted in your staff report. The parapet extension above the garage door does create sort of a large surface that can result in an overbearing form. The applicants responded to that by proposing a sort of draping landscaping over the edge of that parapet wall and then sort of along that entry canopy over the main door. Obviously, the proposed addition has a rectilinear massing and the flat roof, and in terms of its size and scale, it's appropriate for as a second-story addition, but its massing kind of highlights the juxtaposition between the traditional style and the contemporary addition. So, as I said, staff is supportive of this project and appreciates the thought and consideration that's gone into the design. So we wanted to sort of put a couple of conditions of approval in front of you for your thought and to sort of generate some discussion. So the first being to introduce a trellis or similar element to break up the blank facade area above the garage door and have it extend along the facade to the main entry to unify the design, or to slightly lower the height of the addition by either a slight reduction in the interior floor to ceiling height or reducing the height of the roof parapet wall above the ceiling. So with that, concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions of the board. The property owners and the architect are both here. I believe they intend to speak. I'm not sure if they submitted speaker cards. And so that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Any questions?
Just a simple question. I know the window above the garage, it says casement, but looking at the elevation plan, it kind of gives the hint of there's a folding. Is that a operable folding door or not? Just want to make sure.
It's not. It's a casement, and that is depicted maybe a little bit better on the floor plans, on the second floor plan, where you can see they are sort of left swinging, and they would just sort of clear the top of that parapet wall, and again, to kind of provide for some ventilation. So it's 4 casements.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. No more questions. We'll move into the public portion. We have 2 speaker cards on this item. First one, we have Barrett Cook, and then we have Nellie Barnett, whoever wants to go first. And if you could just please state your name for the record.
Hi, thanks for taking the time to review this project. I'm Barrett Cook of Arterbury Cook Architecture. Nick very well explained the project, but the concept of the project is to have old be old and new be new with the clear volumetric qualities of the proposed design enhance the original building by framing it against the modern counterpart. The addition sits atop the existing garage as a jewel box, exhibiting refined and unimposed detailing without unnecessary ornament. Light-colored brick cladding complements the exterior colors of the existing house while providing a subtle contrast of texture and a cheeky nod to the original exposed brickwork on the existing chimney at the front of the residence. The maximized glazing at the street front increases reflectivity and plays down the presence of the addition. The design establishes a visual connection between the old and the new, and both are seen as valuable and important to the project. Nick explained the conditions of approval, and we have our clarification on those 2 conditions. Regarding the first condition about adding a trellis in front of the garage, this was explored early on in the project by the owner and the design team, and the addition of the trellis or other architectural features felt both antithetical to the streamlined goals of the project, and it would cause an undesired impact on the usability of the driveway area. The proposed landscaping at the garage parapet will drape over the wall sufficiently to break up the massing between the garage and the addition. The second condition regarding height, the proposed design already sufficiently minimizes the perceived massing by having a ridge height that is 2 feet lower than the existing structure. It's also set back 2.5 feet from the front garage facade. We explored many massing options, and the current iteration reads as and is diminutive to the existing residence, and the proposed ratio look elegant and appropriate with the scale of the original structure. We thank you for your consideration, and I'm going to introduce Nellie, the homeowner, who's a longtime Glendale resident.
Thank you. Nellie, if you could also just state your name for the record, please.
Sure thing. Hi, I'm Nellie Barnett, and I wanted to thank the board, and I also wanted to thank the staff and, of course, our planner, Nick, who's been fantastic to work with. We bought this house, gosh, almost 6 years ago now. It's a beautiful house. It's big. It's on a big piece of land, but it's actually only a 2-bedroom, and we have 3 boys. So the entire concept of this project really is to give us a little bit more space. We tried to use a lot of restraint. We love the historic nature of the house. We didn't want to knock it down and build something new. We really just wanted to add something that would really highlight the beauty of what's already there, but also kind of be unique and modern and lovely. The brickwork, which you can't really see here, is the newer brickwork that we're using is a little bit rustic, so it will kind of draw back to the chimney in a lovely way. And I just wanted to say thank you for your time, and I hope that you'll approve our project without conditions, because we really would love to build it. And also, we love Glendale so much. Our boys are in Glendale Public Schools, and we thank you so much for your input.
Thank you. Did you all have any questions for the architect? Any questions?
No, I guess I heard what I needed to hear.
Okay. All right. Was there any callers?
I have no callers.
Thank you. All right. So with that being said, we're going to close the public portion and go into deliberation. Board Member Haladrin, did you want to go first here?
Sure, thank you. Overall, I would say the design architect has done a very nice job by blending in with the existing structure. It's a modest improvement. And overall, I do support the project. I'm just a little bit struggling with the staff's conditions and suggestions versus what's being proposed. I do like the current proposal, board members, so I'm curious to hear about your thoughts, and maybe we can deliberate more on that.
Okay. Board Member Welsh?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I agree from a mass and scale, site planning characteristics, it's very well done. I don't have any issues with any of that. It was really in the design and detailing that I was a little struck, because normally people try to make an addition sort of blend in with the existing design, not really create something that's bold and very different. But that said, I allow people to have their own free choice. So from that perspective, I really can't, I really can't make any objections. I tend to agree that a trellis would not necessarily be the right thing. I think maybe we could consider the height aspect, because how the connection is between this sort of additional new, very boxy form, where it meets the roof of the existing house, is the connection there, the transition is a little awkward. So I think that could be studied a little bit to possibly, I know it's kind of, you're limited here because you've got the downstairs and the garage and everything like that. So, and 9.5 feet isn't that excessively tall. So it's a tough one, because I don't think that you've been excessive here. It's just that connection point that concerns me a little bit. But I mean, the size of the windows also, just a little bit out of scale with the rest of the windows, but then again, you're doing something completely different. So those are my thoughts. So I could go either way, frankly, whether we add conditions or not add any conditions, so I'll leave it to you, Mr. Chair, to sort of arbitrate here.
Yeah, overall, I think you all have done a great job. I think it's very modest. I do agree that we could remove condition number 1. I don't think a trellis is necessary there. So I'm currently okay with the current layout and the design that we have in front of us. It is a little bit, as Board Member Welsh said, awkward in the sense that like the two buildings don't really like match up when next to the roof line. But it is its own little thing. Yeah, so I think that I would be okay with removing condition number 1. And I don't know what your thoughts are about condition number 2. But yeah, I'm okay with removing 1.
Are we allowed to say anything else or not?
No, sorry.
Because the public forum is closed, and we ask that speakers not speak from the audience for the camera and the record. Thank you.
I mean, unless, Mr. Chair, you want to ask the applicant up to have a little bit further discussion about it, we could do that, since it doesn't seem like we have solid opinions here, so we might want to get the applicants or the architects.
Did the architect want to come up for 2 minutes? Is that okay? Yeah, if you wanted to come.
Would it be okay if I joined her or not?
Sure, yeah. If you could just, yeah, but the mic.
For the record, your name and yeah.
In addition to the desire for some more height on the interior, there are some like roof connection issues that start to really impact the water dispersion and other things like that, and like connecting some elements from the existing house to this new house. So if we go any lower, it completely is separated. And that's going to get us a quite low ceiling height, I'm afraid, like lower than anything that would be typical.
So you're adding like a new cricket there between?
Adding a new
yeah.
cricket, yeah.
Okay.
And that's how we're shedding water, and I'm just worried that if we start trying to modulate that, like as it is right now, we have enough space to do it, but if we get any lower, we're not gonna have an appropriate cricket.
Yeah, it's really that awkward space where, you know, you can't do too much there.
That's all I wanted to share.
Okay.
I'm Nellie Barnett, the homeowner, and I just wanted to say that we did look at we looked at building it even higher, and then we looked at building it lower so that it lined up with the other roof, which I think is what you guys are talking about, and it looked odd. It looked almost diminutive, like what is that? As opposed to this, where you're like, I see exactly what it is. This scale felt appropriate. And of course, the water drainage issues kind of seal that in for us, that we were kind of meeting ourselves in the middle at this ratio. Thank you.
Thank you. That being said, what are,
Mr. Chair, I think overall, I'm okay with the height. I don't think they're asking for too much, but it just, maybe the scale of the casement window versus the adjacent roof pitch, I think that's kind of what's throwing it off. Maybe if they can lower the casement height, casement window height, and kind of align with the, if the intent is to have a fresh air, you know, I think they can achieve that, and maybe make it similar to the below the roof pitch. It's kind of hard to tell here on the rendering, but
Yeah, is there an elevation on here?
maybe there's an elevation.
So you're saying bring the top of those casement windows to be basically in line with the bottom of the hip roof as it is now on the
Yes.
existing house?
Again, it's a suggestion. I'm curious about your thoughts on the matter, but I think that will provide. It will maybe scale better. It's kind of hard to tell here, but those are.
I have no
my-
objection to that.
Yeah.
I think that, as I said, I thought that those windows were just a little bit overscaled. So I think that they could be maybe shrunk down a little bit in scale and that height.
Yeah.
They'll still be very much glazing in that study area, so.
so would we remove condition 2 as well, and then, or modify it so that,
I think you remove it and then
Remove-
just add a.
so remove
new
1 and
condition.
2, and then add a new condition in regards to the windows, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, because as of right now, it's 5'10", and I'm not sure what that dimension would be if, you know, the proper scale here, but, you know, below the roof pitch, basically,
Okay,
yeah.
so remove condition number 1 and 2, and then a new condition in regards to decreasing the size for the window.
Well, I do like how they broke it up with the, you know, with the IV, you know,
Yeah.
cascading down.
100%, yes.
I do like that feature.
You want to add that as a condition as well, that they should have
Yes.
Yeah.
those trailing plants in there?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Understood. And I believe the trailing plants was always the intentions and was shown on the plan. So if you want to incorporate it into that condition. So what I'm hearing is to lower the height of the windows to meet the eave of the adjacent window and to
Of the existing house.
of the
not
existing house. I apologize,
yeah.
misspoke. And also to reduce the size elsewhere, just to lower the height. I just want to make sure I'm getting clear direction from the board.
Just to lower the height.
Okay.
May I offer what I wrote here? It just suggested to lower the head height of the casement windows of the addition above the garage to match the height of the eave of the existing hip roof, the existing second floor, somewhere along the lines of that. Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Do we have a motion, or do we have a consensus?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll move it with those, I guess, conditions there too.
Yep.
Right.
2 new conditions, and then remove the other 2 conditions.
This will be roll call to strike conditions number 1 and 2 of staff, and then add the condition regarding the windows. This will be roll call once again. Board Member Welsh,
Yes.
Board Member Halajian,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair Kaskanian.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 3-0. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, we have one more item this evening located at 1303 to 1315 North Cedar. It does seem like we have the most cards here. Staff is ready to go as far as their presentation. Would the board like a break?
I'm okay.
Are you okay?
Oh, okay.
Okay. We're good.
We're good? Okay. Okay, so moving on to item C, once again, located at 1303, 1315 North Central Avenue. This is going to be design review case number 003-089-2024 and PDPRV-00544-2025. And this is in regards to the demolition of a 37-unit apartment complex built in 1957 and to construct a 149-unit apartment building, which is a density bonus affordable housing project, 3 to 6 stories plus 11-foot elevator stair towers with 2 parking levels below, with 211 parking spaces, with 14 very low income and 5 moderate income units on approximately an 86,000 square foot lot zone R1250. I'm going to get the case planner here to see if they need additional time.
Okay.
They did mention, but if you can just give me a couple second break here.
No worries.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And just a reminder for everyone, if you do plan on speaking, please make sure to fill out a speaker card. Thank you. Where did all those other ones go? Oh, yeah. Perfect, thank you.
So, members of the board and members of the public, thank you very much for that brief pause. I do have the case planner here, Cassandra Pruitt. She will be starting her presentation just shortly. She's going to get the presentation loaded on the computer. So thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we're ready.
Good evening, Chair, board members, and members of the public. I'm Cassandra Pruitt, case planner for this project at 1303 to 1315 North Central Avenue. The project is to demolish a 37-unit apartment complex and construct a 149-unit apartment building. One moment.
You can use the keyboard.
Okay. The subject site is located in central Glendale on the west side of Central Avenue, just south of West Mountain Street. The lot fronts 2 streets, Central Avenue to the east and Viola Avenue to the west. The property features an approximately 86,000 square foot lot that slopes down slightly from northeast to southwest. The site is located in the R1250 zone, which is the high-density residential zone. The immediate neighborhood surrounding the subject site is also zoned for R1250, except for the area to the northwest. which is zoned R1-1, being the most common residential zoning for single-family homes, with the smallest floor area size allowed of 30% of the lot size. The building massing surrounding the subject site is 2 stories to the north, 1 to 3 stories to the east and south, 2 stories to the southwest, and 1 story to the northwest where the single-family homes are. The subject site is developed with an apartment complex consisting of 3 2-story apartment buildings and associated parking garages constructed in 1957. These buildings are proposed to be demolished and replaced with the new development. No indigenous protected trees are located on or within 20 feet of the site. The project proposes removal of all the trees on site and has been reviewed by the city arborist, who requires the project to provide street trees as shown on the landscape plan. Before I get into the details of the project design, I'd like to provide an overview of the project timeline since DRB last saw this project. Just over 2 years ago, this project was presented to the DRB with a slightly smaller scope of 131 units, and it was presented for preliminary DRB comments only. The project was later expanded to add 18 units and then was found by the Community Development Department not to qualify for California Environmental Quality Act exemption, also known as a CEQA exemption, due to the site containing a historic resource, and therefore required the applicant to prepare an environmental impact report. The applicant appealed that decision to City Council, who upheld the decision and required the applicant to prepare an environmental impact report. In June of this year, California Assembly Bill 130 was passed that included a provision that would allow a project to be exempt from CEQA if it was not already listed on a historic register, among other criteria which this project meets. And therefore, the project now qualifies for a CEQA exemption and is not required to prepare an environmental impact report. Last week, the Community Development Department issued approval for a density bonus application, which it was required by state law to approve. The approval allows the project to exceed the maximum allowed number of units, height and stories, floor area ratio, and lot coverage, and to provide less than the required setback distances from the interior property line and less than the required parking. The current proposed project features 149 units with 19 affordable units, 3 to 6 stories in height over 2 parking levels, and a maximum 94 feet and 4-inch height, 2.84 floor area ratio, 211 parking spaces, and interior setback exceptions. Without the density bonus approval, code would have allowed a maximum of 86 units, 3 stories and 41 feet height, a maximum 1.2 floor area ratio, 50% lot coverage, 358 required parking spaces, and no setback exceptions for the pool, retaining wall at northern interior setback, nor the approximately 3-foot encroachments into the interior setback on the 3rd and 4th floors. The project includes 2 apartment buildings and a 3rd smaller 2-story leasing office. Primary access is from North Central Avenue, which includes pedestrian access to the building lobby, shown by this blue arrow, and driveway access to the 2 lower parking levels, shown by this single-headed red arrow. The 2 buildings are located at the north and south. There's a large open space courtyard at the center and a smaller open space area with a pool at the west. And there's a 6-level pedestrian bridge that connects the 2 buildings, shown by this double-headed arrow. The project essentially features 3-story buildings on Central Avenue, and then it increases to 6 stories moving to the west, with the 8-level massing on Viola Avenue, which is at the lowest elevation of the project site. In the next few slides, I will show the prior project that the DRB reviewed and the current project. This slide shows the prior project at 131 units, and this is the new revised project at 149 units. The new added 18 units did result in an added level to the building. The DRB's preliminary design review comments from the June 2023 meeting We're focused on reducing the mass and scale of the project and ask the applicant to move units to the ground floor to increase setbacks, to reduce the taller massing to 3 stories, and to provide more variation in design and detailing to reduce the apparent massing. The applicant chose not to incorporate the DRB's feedback. However, most of the DRB comments directly pertain to the density bonus incentive requests, which the applicant asked for and the city is required by state law to grant, namely increased stories in height, increased FAR and lot coverage, and reduced setbacks. In this slide, which shows the renderings as viewed from Central Avenue, we can see the project is designed with a strong architectural style, with the massing visually broken up. This elevation is the strongest part of the project design. The units facing Central Avenue feature defined entries that face the street with entry patios. This slide shows the project as viewed from the adjacent single-family homes to the west, with the prior project on top and the new project at the bottom. The project towers above the neighboring properties and is not well integrated with them. There are some breaks in the roof massing and in the facade, including between buildings and at balconies. And at the facade features a small amount of horizontal banding to help break it up. This slide shows the project as viewed from Viola Avenue. Current project on the bottom. The elevator tower to the left is the tallest massing of the project at the lowest elevation point. The 2 corners of this facade at the elevator tower and this south corner feature tall, flat facades that rise above the surrounding buildings. These areas could use application of architectural techniques to minimize their apparent massing. That said, as the rear facade of the project, it is generally appropriately designed to not look like the back or side of a building. We don't have renderings of the north and south sides of the building, so these are the elevations. This is the south facade. There are breaks in the plane horizontally, but each of those planes extend straight up for 6 stories. To illustrate this point, this is the floor plan of the outline of the south facade, which is essentially the same on all 6 floors. So it breaks, but each of these planes extends up for 6 levels. And these are the north elevations, which are similar to the south, with slightly less variation in the roof line. The north facade features similar facade plane breaks as the south side, which each of these planes extending up for 6 stories. The project features a large courtyard at the center of the site with common and private open space, and with patios transitioning in a layered fashion between the units and the common open space. The proposed landscaping is appropriate to the architectural style of the project and is well distributed across the site. The project proposes several shade trees, including 16 camphor trees, and then 23 crepe myrtle or pink trumpets, 25 Australian willows, 58 screening trees, 20 citrus trees, 10 street trees, and a variety of palms, shrubs, and other plants. Overall, the project design and detailing are well addressed and feature a variety of high-quality materials, including Spanish tile, precast concrete shutters, Vibrex windows, smooth stucco, limestone, metal railings, and exposed heavy timber. Staff recommends a few minor conditions of approval to ensure windows are recessed with sill, that plans consistently show the driveway featuring decorative paving, that boundary walls be faced with appropriate material, and a lighting plan be provided demonstrating lighting will not spill onto adjacent properties. Staff also suggests the board may want to discuss whether any architectural strategies may be employed at the rear and side facades to reduce the apparent massing and scale within the bounds of the density bonus approval. In terms of public comment letters, 10 letters in opposition to the project were received by email and were printed out and provided to the board prior to the beginning of the meeting. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for staff? I actually have a question. Can you actually go, Cassandra, back to the slides?
Yes.
Sorry.
See. Okay, there we go.
Please, if we can't have any noise. If you want to speak, you can fill out a card.
Did you want
If
me
you can
to?
go back where the timeline, you had the timeline.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, perfect. My question is, so I remember this case back in 2023. So we had our conditions, and from what I understood is none of those were met because of AB 130, like the exceptions that we've had from AB 130. If you could just clarify that real quick.
Sure, it's actually, AB 130 pertained to the CEQA exemption.
Okay.
AB 130 allowed them to have a CEQA exemption. The height, stories, setbacks, and all of that, that is controlled by the density bonus law. When the project provides the required number of affordable units, then they are granted concessions or incentives to code standards. And they were granted 4, and they chose those 4.
Okay.
So we're required by state law to grant them those incentives.
And what was the affordable housing units that we had in 2023? Do you remember compared to now? And I know that we have 18 units, if I remember seeing that correctly, that it was 18 units.
You mean that we're already existing?
Because they increased their units now. I think it was like 151 units right now, right? Whereas in the past it was 139 in 2023.
Right. It was 131 units before, and I think they had 14 affordable units, and now they have 149 units, and they've added 5 additional affordable units.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, there's a reference made in the staff report that said the city must make a decision on the project by October 14th, 2025. What does that mean?
AB 130 sets out timelines for the project being, a decision being made on the project, and the timeline started upon receipt from the applicant, and then we did a tribal consultation period, and there's a timeline where certain events are triggered, and based on the completion of the tribal consultation, that's the date by which we must make a decision in order to meet the statutory requirements.
Okay, but considering that's like less than 3 weeks away, what authority do we have tonight? Can we, like, for example, do a return for redesign? Is that considered a decision, or?
Yes, that is an option.
That is an option, so that would be considered a decision under that state law.
I don't, okay, that would meet the requirements.
Okay. All right.
No, you have to either approve or.
Who's talking?
Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry, we do have,
Yeah.
we do have counsel available on our meeting via Teams. Kindly, if you can introduce yourself and then go ahead and provide your input there.
Are we done with the
Yes,
staff?
I'm sorry to just interrupt. My name is Barbara Couts. I'm outside counsel to the city. I'm a partner at Goldfarb and Lippman. The city must either approve or deny the project by October 14th. The reason is that the state law, oops, I'm sorry, I'm getting some echo here. The state law states that the city must make a decision which within 30 days after completing the tribal consultation.
So that means that we can either vote yes or we can vote no, but there's no return for redesign then? Is that, if I'm hearing that correctly?
that's what is being stated.
You could continue it within the, before October 14th, but you can't, but you must make a decision by October 14th.
And how are, like, appeals to the city council considered? Is that outside of that? Is that?
Yes, appeals to the city council are not included in the 30-day limit.
I see, okay.
Now, typically, a return for redesign is a decision. We're consulting
It's
with.
not, you're talking about the Permit Streamlining Act, which indicates that if the city doesn't approve or deny the project, it's deemed approved.
Board Member Halajian?
So if I'm understanding correctly, if we don't approve this by October 14th, right,
Or deny.
Or deny it,
or deny it,
make a decision.
then the applicant can go to the state and get the approval? Am I understanding that correctly?
Well, it's-
No,
It's
it would
deemed-
be deemed
it's
approved
deemed to
if we
be
didn't
approved.
act.
And can you please turn off your phones? I appreciate it. Okay.
Any other questions first?
So what's our preview then
Well,
to,
it seems like we can either approve it with conditions or we can deny it. So that normally we would have the option to do a return for redesign as a possibility, but apparently we don't have that in this case. At least that's what I'm hearing from the city attorney's office.
Can we just get clarification on that?
The statute says specifically that you must either approve or disapprove the project.
Okay.
Barbara, typically when a return for redesign is done, that is the equivalent of a disapproval. The applicant redesigns the project and they submit a new application. They pay new fees and submit a new application, and then they bring it back to the board. So it's the
Correct, but
equivalent
to
of a denial.
disapprove-
It's an equivalent of a denial to do a
To
return for redesign.
disapprove,
Should I call her to come up here?
to disapprove the project,
Which one?
the city must make a finding either that it doesn't conform with an objective standard and the project's been deemed consistent with objective standards, or it must find that there's a specific adverse impact that can't be mitigated that would occur when the project, if the project is approved.
So we would need to make those findings in order to do a return for redesign decision.
If you consider that to be a disapproval, yes.
So walk us through that. So in order to do a return for redesign, we would have to make findings that indicate that the project does not meet our design guidelines, but they must be the objective.
Actually, it's a,
The objective design standards. Right.
yeah, our design guidelines are not objective design standards, so that wouldn't be able to be used as the standard.
So in other words, you're saying we have no discretion here.
Well, we can, for example, we could approve with conditions, which was the recommendation by staff, and conditions can address things that don't affect those density bonus incentives that were granted.
Okay, so just as a example here, so if we were to say that in the section of the project that is abutting the single-family neighborhood, having a 6-story height is inappropriate given our design guidelines, and that therefore they should remove that and move that massing elsewhere on the project, that wouldn't affect the density or the unit counts, but it would be forcing them to change the site plan. Would that be an acceptable situation?
Unfortunately, it wouldn't, because it's not just the density, it's the incentives that were granted with the density bonus request, and the incentives were increased stories, increased height, reduced setbacks, et cetera. Those wouldn't be.
Have 3 stories in parts of the project site, but not in others. So they could still have 6 stories, but not necessarily all in the areas that are most immediately affecting single-family neighborhoods. I mean, our design guidelines are very specific, that we're supposed to work towards mitigating impacts on single-family neighborhoods when they're abutting a multifamily zone. This case is clearly not doing that. So Are you saying therefore we have no discretion to enforce the city's design guidelines?
Well, as Barbara had outlined in the state law, we would be, in order to do a return for redesign, which would be the equivalent of a denial, we would need to make those particular findings about objective design standards and negative impacts to the public health and safety. I can't remember the exact wording she used.
But if we were to do an approval with conditions, could we still have conditions like we would normally have done to address something like that?
My understanding is that the conditions couldn't undo the density bonus incentives, and
Trying to undo the
you're
density,
saying
but
that
I'm just trying to have them rework the site planning to put massing in different places.
okay. I'm not sure, Barbara, if you have anything to weigh in on this.
So they've asked for specific waivers to allow the project to be built with the height shown in, in the plans you're reviewing. And there was a case a couple of years ago in San Diego County where the court basically said that waivers must be granted to permit the project to be built as designed unless you can make one of three findings. And the three findings, one is the specific health and safety standard, the same as needed to deny the project. Another is if the project has an impact on a historic structure that's listed on the California Register. And the third is if it violates state or federal law. So it is very difficult. So effectively, developers are entitled to build what they've proposed if they have enough affordable housing, which this one does, and receive the waivers to allow the project to be built as designed, even if, I understand the board's concerns, but effectively the board would need to make one of those three findings to not allow the project to be built as designed.
So for all intents and purposes, the city has absolutely zero agency here. If I'm understanding this correctly, we have zero agency to make decisions about how this project is designed from a massing standpoint, design and detailing, any of those things. So we have no ability to impact those things. The developer can do whatever they want, and the city has no say in that? That doesn't seem right to me.
I'm not giving you my personal view of all these statutes, but that's essentially what they allow. You can apply conditions that are similar to those the staff recommended, like materials, colors, maybe roof slopes, things like that. But in terms of the waivers that have been requested, you have very limited discretion.
Board Member Elijah?
Can we define health and safety? What does that mean? Like, for example, if there's a emergency and the fire truck is blocking North Central Avenue, which is one-way street in each direction, would that be considered health and safety?
There has to be an established health and safety standard. So if the city has standards regarding, emergency access, width of roads, sidewalks along busy streets, similar standards like that, those would be health and safety standards.
Those aren't in our purview, right?
I would just comment that Requests for comments were sent out to the other city departments, including fire and public works, traffic, and that was not expressed as being a concern. They did studies on the traffic that would be generated from the site and found that it was not required to provide a local transportation analysis, and that wasn't something that was brought up from those departments.
So, if I'm getting this correctly, board members, if we cannot comment on health and safety, if we cannot comment on the impact on historic structure because the staff just told it's not. I don't know if it violates states and federal laws. I haven't looked into that deep. We're city jurisdiction at the end of the day. So all is left to comment on the aesthetics of the structure. Is that what your understanding is?
Well, I mean, I will still address all the things that our design guidelines tell us. I mean, we operate under the City of Glendale's code, and that is governed by the design guidelines, which says we need to be evaluating mass and scale, site planning, design and detailing. Now, the staff and the lawyers are saying that we can't necessarily use those things to make findings, but we can still evaluate the project on that basis. I believe we could probably still put conditions on the project, and, the developer will very likely appeal that, and it'll just go to the city council. But I think for all intents and purposes, we still need to operate under what we've been charged with, which is to enforce the City of Glendale's guidelines.
Well, we've had, and I don't want to get into deliberation right now, but like we had brought up a lot of these concerns in 2023, and I think we have gone like the total opposite of what we had originally seen from 2023 as far as the mass and scaling goes.
Yeah,
I mean,
but what they're saying is that the certain elements of mass and scale, including basically the overall density and the overall heights, are not necessarily within our purview because that's governed by state. But how that massing is put onto the site, I believe, is still within our purview. Now, other people may argue that, but I would still make the case that it is still within our purview to govern mass and scale on a project, particularly where it, is in direct conflict with a single-family zone, which our design guidelines are specifically geared towards protecting, those transitions.
Yeah. Okay. We have a lot of speaker cards. Does anyone have any other questions for staff? Yes.
No questions to the staff. Are we going to the applicants first?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. No more questions for staff. Thank you. Okay. And just so you all know, we have a Teams meeting set up over here. And we do have some speakers on Teams. Did you want to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sorry, what was your name?
Daniel Friedman.
Daniel Friedman, yeah. Please just say your name again for the record.
Daniel Friedman.
And sorry, just so everyone knows, applicant gets up to 15 minutes, correct? And then speakers get 3 minutes.
That's correct.
Okay, and we will be enforcing that today. And then just to remind everyone, the bells are, the first bell means you have a minute left.
You have 30 seconds left.
30 seconds left, all right. So if you hear a bell, that means you have 30 seconds. If you hear another bell, that means your time is up. All right? Let's go. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Daniel Friedman with the law offices of Jeffrey Mangels, Butler and Mitchell. I represent the applicant on this project. We submitted a PowerPoint presentation PDF. I don't know if that can be pulled up. I'll just kind of walk through it.
bear with us as we're trying to coordinate both the teams and then also live.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I could please hold my time during this period, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I will reset it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Right, beautiful.
Okay, I think we're ready to go.
And we can just go straight to the next slide. Thank you so much. Hi, good evening. So first off, let me start with the following. I think it's important to clarify a couple things. First off, it is not accurate to state that no changes have been made since this previously came to the Design Review Board. I'll state one very simple change that was made is that the rear setbacks were expanded to 25 feet, whereas before they were 15 feet. There were adjustments to the architectural design. There were a numerous amount of changes that were made to be responsive to this body. What I'm hearing is that the demands that it be lowered in height to 3 stories and that the density be reduced were not received and were not responded to. And that is true in the sense that there is a density that is allowed on the site and the applicant intends to build to that density. And I want to address that issue up front because I think it's important not only for this body to understand, but for everyone in attendance to understand. My client, the applicant, isn't the one who set the density standards for this property. The project doesn't set the density standards for this property, nor does density bonus law set the density standards for this property. It was the city that did that. Many years ago, when they adopted the zoning for this property where they said, we want and we plan and we're telling the state that we intend on having high density residential on this property. So I just want to be clear that this isn't a project proposing high density residential. This is a project with high density residential, higher density residential, as requested by the city. Before I go on, I do want to thank Cassandra. Thank you for that presentation, and Barbara for your time and presenting the facts. I also want to make one more comment before I go on to the presentation about the scope of review. It is incorrect to say that we can condition the project based on subjective standards, and that's the issue. So when we talk about, well, I can still review this for massing, and I can plop a condition on there that says, I guess I'm imagining what you're thinking is something like no 6 stories on this side of the lot, or whatever it may be. Those are subjective conditions. The city is actually restricted from enforcing subjective conditions on projects that have affordable housing, that are density bonus projects and that have the qualified affordability components. So I just want to raise that. That is not within this board's authority. And I want to echo what council and what Cassandra stated with respect to the limits of this board's review. Now, thankfully, in our view, this is a beautifully designed project that will fit in beautifully into this area and will provide beautiful density with amazing architectural design. First off, let me talk about my client, the applicant, and the architect. This is a 4th-generation family business with 30-plus years of activity in Glendale. They are also the GCs, and they also hold. So these properties are properties they plan on maintaining for generations to come. They have their own in-house management, and they plan on and continue to be involved in the community and engaged with the surroundings. I also want to state they take great care of their buildings, and they design buildings that are intended to last. And I'll get to some of those value adds in a second. Next slide. This is a subject property. There's a reason why the city decided to put density in this location, is because it is a fantastic location for density. Across the street is the Ralph's Market and other commercial shopping areas. It is on a large boulevard, and it's adjacent, just a street over from Brand. It's a great location for density, and that's why the city put it there. Next slide. So we talk about the applicant's objectives. The applicant's objectives are to build housing that people want to stay in. These are not intended to be for people who come and go. These are really intended for people who want to build community and to stay in this property. So how are we able to show that? you can tell by the unit mix. There's going to be 25 one-bedrooms, 82 bedrooms, and those are sizable, 1,300 square feet average, and 44 three-bedrooms. People don't build many three-bedrooms. There's going to be a lot of three-bedrooms. This is intended to be a place for families and for people who want to reside and participate and be members of this
Sorry,
city.
sir. Can we please not have any discussions out so that we can hear the applicant speak? Thank you.
Next slide, please. So, and let me just, 82% of the units are either two-bedroom or three-bedrooms.
I apologize. I'm really trying. Something's just not cooperating, and I'm going to pause it.
No worries, no worries.
Maybe we'll just use there. Use the up and down arrow. Next slide is there. Is that the next slide?
Yes, thank you so much. I know there was discussion about massing. Now, I think it's important to understand that this is a highly, highly articulated building. And there's also a lot of density that's allowed on this site per city code. And finding the right balance between putting articulation on the front and on the rear and on the sides is not an easy task. The architect made, obviously we think, a fantastic effort and did the job here in a way that's beautiful and that integrates massing, scale adjustments, and different levels of elevations, and we believe it's going to provide a beautiful view and scenic building from Central. It also will include a large open yard courtyard, fountain, and will have lush landscaping. Next slide. Here's a rendering of one of the courtyards. Elegant, beautiful, fantastic design. A place where people are going to want to go and get sun and walk around and be a part of the community. Next slide. This is the pool. I want to also be clear, there's an existing pool that's going to be maintained. So that's why the conversation about moving the pool really wasn't working for this project, because there is a pool already at this location, and that's going to be where this pool remains. And that's the pool and the design around it. Next slide. Here's the landscape plan. Again, I want to reiterate, this applicant plans on maintaining management of this property in the long run. This is not a fly-by-night development. They've already been here for 30 years, and they plan on staying for at least another 30 years. And so when they've designed this project, they've designed it in a way that it is going to be beautiful, elegant, and is going to be attractive for tenants and the neighborhood for many years to come, and it shows in the landscaping plan. Next slide. The other thing they added to this building, which I think illustrates that point, is that they've included self-storage in the actual building, meaning tenants who are there not only have, of course, their own parking space, but they will also have an option to get a private self-storage facility, which, as for those of you who live or have lived in an apartment, it is a very valuable tool and resource for people to be able to stay in their apartments long run as their families expand or their needs expand. Next slide. Other design features. This actually was the last project designed by the regarded and highly award-winning architect Cameron Tabrizi. The architectural style is Spanish colonial revival that is predominantly found in historic Glendale. So it's a style that fits large park-like center courtyard, which is an important amenity for maintaining the attractiveness of the project. Also an important amenity, as is the height, for allowing for the affordable units to pencil. High-quality finishes, such as smooth plaster walls finishes and extra soundproofing with double walls between the units and extra layers of soundproofing between the floors and ceilings, sound-rated windows throughout. Again, the intent is that these are units people want to stay in for the long run. Next slide. And I'll just end with a photo of the frontage rendering. And I'd like to essentially conclude on a couple points. So I'd like to address the conditions. So, again, pushing back on this concept that the applicant did nothing. The applicant has always been willing to talk to the city about adjustments and tweaks, and has done so for years on this project. As you know, you saw this in 2023. They weren't doing nothing since then. So generally speaking, they are okay with all of the conditions subject to one caveat. These are proposed conditions which, to be frank, we didn't know about till they were on the paper. Condition 1 says that the project shall use recessed windows with sills and use external grids. Our understanding of that condition is that the way this condition has been applied in the past and is regularly applied is that this concerns windows that are facing the main frontage. So internal windows or windows not visible from the street could have internal grids. If that's the correct interpretation, applicant is okay with it. The issue is if all of the windows require external grids, that would be a substantial cost increase to this project, which could harm its ability to provide for the density it's proposing. So other than that request for a clarification about condition 1, applicant is okay with providing the recessed windows and sills and the external grids for street-facing windows. Applicant is okay with providing decorative paving and on the driveway and on all the plan sheets. Okay with refacing the existing property boundary walls. Okay providing the lighting plan. And is obviously okay with complying with all the conditions of approval provided for under the density bonus application. With that said, we think this is a great project. We think it provides beautiful architecture and density that the city is requesting. We obviously would like to see an approval today. I reviewed the code. I reached the same determination that a return for redesign would be a disapproval. And in order to disapprove, you would need to make the required health and safety findings. As was stated by council, it can't be something fly by night. It needs to be based on some type of existing standard that exists today and is written and quantifiable and documented. With that said, we don't think this should be denied. This is a project that has gone through substantial architectural design and review, that has elegant density, and which provides the housing that the city specifically requested for on this property. With that, I urge you to limit your review to objective standards. I understand the conflict you have with being here tasked to enforce the design review board standards, which are not objective. But the fact is, that's what the state law requested and requires. So with that, happy to answer any questions. I have the entire project team, including the project architect, with us on Zoom or Microsoft Teams, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Any questions?
Yeah, I want to ask you, because you brought up this condition number 1 about the recessed windows and the grids. So were you saying that's both the grids and the recessed part?
Just the grids.
Just the grids?
Okay with the recessed.
All of the windows would be recessed on the whole project?
Yes, I think that's acceptable to the project team.
Okay, but you just want to have those external grids only on the front facade?
Street-facing front facade, yes.
Okay, I understand.
Any other questions?
One more question. Just for clarification, you said you want the tenants to stay long-term. Is this rent or is this for sale, these apartments?
This will be a rental product.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, I'll have more when we get
Okay.
back to the
All right, Daniel, you will have the opportunity for rebuttal after everyone goes by. So you could take a seat. We also have others on Teams. Do those on Teams want to speak as well, or are they just there for support?
In case you have any questions.
Okay. Did we have any questions? We have the consultant on the line, the landscape architect on the line, and the architect on the line.
I'll probably have questions when we get to the rebuttal portion, so.
Okay.
But I'd like to hear from the public.
Mr. Chair, in addition, just as a reminder, we do have 5 callers as of this moment,
Okay.
also as well to call. And you can call whether in person or on phone, whatever order you would like to.
Okay,
Or,
so the ones on teams that I have over here, they're not going to speak, but they're just there to support in case there's something that is brought up, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, that being said, we'll go with our list here. The first one I have up here is, sorry, I can't read. Sibonide, sorry. If you could just state your name, please, for the record.
Hello, I'm Sibongile Mlambo. I am a neighbor to this project, and like many of my other neighbors, we use this route to walk and run and for exercise. And so I do have health and safety concerns. For example, when the project starts, when the demolition is going on, is asbestos a concern during the demolition part of it? And also dust suppression, like how are they planning to make sure that those of us that are living next door to this project are still going to be healthy and safe? And of course, the sidewalk, a lot of people use the route to go up and run and stuff like that. So are they going to, make an accessible pathway for us to walk through? Sorry, I'd written down some other things. Let's see. Are they going to share with us a construction schedule, what that plan is going to look like? Yeah, I guess those are, the walking plan, dust controls, asbestos, and the schedule, and the construction management plan. That's it.
From my understanding, that's not in the purview here, but there would be some sort of, regarding construction schedule. It's 7 a.m. to.
That's correct. The local ordinances does have.
So there is a noise ordinance that controls when construction can happen. You're right that most of what she talked about isn't necessarily in the purview of the design review board, but, and the applicant could speak to that. They could answer during their appeal if they want, during their rebuttal session, they can respond to some of those. I will comment that the asbestos and lead is controlled by the South Coast Air Quality Management District, and the contractor is required to comply with that, and I think the applicant could also talk about that in a response. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kendra. All right, next we have is Orion. If you could please just state your name for the record, and then follow up, we have Mal?
Mal is my roommate, and they had to go to work, unfortunately, but I think they're going to try to call in so that they can still speak. They had just left a moment ago. Yes, my name is Orion Queer, and I live at 1240 Viola Ave, which is right next door. So our property actually shares the property line. And yeah, I am interested in more concrete definitions of the health and safety concerns, because I also have health and safety concerns. Both me and my roommate have chronic overlapping health conditions, and so we are concerned about the particulate matter from the construction, which it sounds like we don't know the time frame, but I'm guessing would be a few years of construction. And that would definitely have a deleterious effect on our health and well-being, and also, as well as the noise. We both work from home several days out of the week, and that would affect well, it would affect our sleep as well as our ability to work from home. I'm a healing practitioner. I do healing work online, and so having a calming environment outside is important. And so having construction going on in the background would really affect my career and income. And then other concerns are the fact that this has been something that has been pushed through without a lot of attunement to the community. I find it's really notable that there were 3,000 signatures in opposition to this, and that it is still being pushed through, or with expected to go through, and without a lot of, and as we found tonight, without a lot of say with the board here and community members, to me is concerning and points to a lack of interest in what our neighbors actually want and what the community actually is feeling. I feel like we're not really being taken into account, and that is concerning. I don't think that we want that in our community, people who aren't interested in collaborating with neighbors on what is wanted. So to me, the energy and intentions behind the project is concerning, especially with the trees, earlier being cut down pre the approval process. It's just, it feels off to me. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, next we have Damien Sullivan. Damien, if you could please just say your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Damian Sullivan. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I would like to start by sharing two photographs with you that I just received by text a minute ago. This benefit of the swimming pool that's being kept. Would you like to swim in it? Because this has been closed by the health department since June. The residents that are in there have not been able to swim. If I look right here, I can show you the actual red sign that exists right here that the health department has posted that they took 1 minute ago outside the pool. The pool that the owner cares so much about sharing with the future and the present tenants because they care so much has been closed and has bugs in it. You can see the photos. Maybe you would like to take a swim. I would not. So when you are hearing about the dedication to the community and how much of your feedback has been taken into account, I would just like to just ask everybody if we could just live in reality for a few minutes, okay? Because we've been living in bizarro land for about 3 years now. I can read to you right here from the report for tonight. It's not in my phone, but basically it talked about how, and you can read it in the report, in 2023, the applicant came and presented the 131 unit project, and you gave feedback that it was out of proportion in mass and scale, and you gave a whole variety of notes, and it says in the report that they came back subsequent to that with 14 more units, higher height, more density, and it says in your own report that they took all of your feedback, or the majority of your feedback, and did not adhere or follow any of it in what they brought back to you. We've sat in this room and in city council rooms where the community has showed up in very large numbers. Many of the people live in this neighborhood. They've given you their honest feedback about how they feel that this has been a project that has not shown any respect to them. And I'm here tonight, having been involved in this for 2 years, to actually just, acknowledge the noble efforts to save an actually important historic place that was eligible for designation and is a beautiful 1950s garden apartments movement place that was a special place that the city of Glendale designed to compete with the grandeur of Orange Grove Avenue in Pasadena, and it was their pride project of this city in its day. And please take that into account, along with the people that we're throwing out that are our neighbors and friends to trade up. Thank you.
Thank you, Damien. Next we have is Theodore, followed by Dorothea. Take your time, sir. If you could just state your name for the record, please.
My name is Theodore Polychronis, and I'm for decades I'm a resident of Glendale. Just want to be rather brief here. I'm shocked at the proposed construction on central location, and I'm not familiar with whatever part of the law allowed or mandated construction of this proposed building. The proposed construction appears to be based on greed and slick interpretation of whatever laws exist regarding buildings for residences. If approved, it will destroy a wonderful part of our city through its size and increased population. A big and damaging part of this disruption of this part of populated cities during construction. The proposal includes many things, like digging a lot of holes in there for removing dirt, like for 2 levels of garage spaces and all kinds of things. And for years it will affect the lives of any neighbors that exist in there or will survive. Incidentally, I didn't hear what is their projected time schedule for completing a thing like that. Now, the question I also have is the size of this building somehow mandatory for this part of the world? And I ask the board to address these questions. Another issue which is not spoken about is how long is it going to take to construct that thing? And what happens to the neighbors there? They'll either, they have to move, or what happens to their lives? It's a residential district. It's not out in the wilds where, there's space. So it's not, the proposal is not, needs, I think, a lot of thought before it is approved. So, and then I had a question also, which perhaps is known to you but not to me. What exactly defines those, what do they call them, low income and lower income and lowest income people who are supposed to be immigrating into this place? Does anybody have any idea? And what is the benefit to anybody in that whole area there from this proposed project? I really object this, and I think that you who are in power more than I should address them and see what happens to the people and the disruption and this is catastrophic. I don't know what, by the way, I don't know what happens to the people who live in that compound now. So please just consider what I asked and what I'm suggesting, and just do a good job, because this is going to be a disaster, and a lot of innocent people will be affected by it. So,
thank you.
that's all.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. Some of your questions will have the applicant answer in regards to the construction schedule and what that would look like. And in regards to any other additional questions, we'll bring it up during our deliberation. But we really appreciate you coming out and providing us with your feedback.
Anyway, you keep him in some kind of a control, because this is no good. It is really a terrible idea. And why that big? Oh, incidentally, in other parts of the world, more civilized than others, when a big structure like this is proposed, they construct with just boards or something that shows the size and the outline of the buildings. So people who are not architects or engineers or anything can see it.
Sir, if you
And
could
then-
wrap up your testimony, please, within maybe the next couple, if you can finish up your testimony within the next couple seconds here, so we can get moving forward. Your 3 minutes was allotted, but please continue. But if you can please conclude soon, I'd appreciate that. Yeah. No, you please continue.
What? Anything else?
Thank you, sir.
Do it.
Thank you. All right, next we have is Dorothea. Ma'am, if you could please just say your name for the record.
Dorothea Molina, 1327 North Central. I'd like to start with a question. Have you, the 5 of you, not just the 3 of you, the 5 of you, have you had an opportunity to visit the property? Have the 3 of you, you have seen it? Okay, good, because my next thing, and I want to say this first, I am glad that it would provide low-income apartments. Everybody needs a roof over their head, and there's no reason why it can't be next door to me. That's not a problem. But health and safety, did I say? And that might be, you're out on this, because I think this is a very dangerous location. If you've been to the property and you know the traffic going up and down Central Avenue, it's a hill, and ours is the next driveway. And parking is allowed on both sides of the street. The city of Glen, all the way from the top to the bottom, all the way to, not all the way down, but at least for 4 blocks. So the gravity on the cars, forget if they're putting speed on, it just goes zoom. And I'm coming out of this driveway, which is the same width as the driveways on that building. And I have to take my life in my hands to see if I'm going to be able to make it. Can I see beyond the car that's parked there, somebody zooming down and how fast they come? So this is a real safety issue. For me, it has been for years, and this is going to make it worse. I tried to look at the plan, and I think from discussion, the driveways are proposed to come out on Central, both of them. They're not going off on the side street, which if they would take them off the back way, I could live with it, you know? I don't like the 5 stories. There's a lot of things I don't like about it. But the health and safety, that's terrible. So anyway, my biggest fear is for the proposed number of units. My second biggest is the automobiles coming in and out. And also, there'll be so many more automobiles coming in and out. So that's going to be even worse. And what do they do? Is it a 2-lane coming in and out? Because as we come in, well, we know we have 1 lane, so if somebody's coming down the driveway, they have to back up so that the person from the street can get in. It's a 1-lane driveway. Now, that's going to be interesting with 100 and some people living there and 2 driveways. Traffic on the existing property has 2 driveways. Traffic on Central, especially coming down, okay. I'm sorry, I'm not organized enough.
You're okay. You have about 30 seconds left.
That's all I have left? Do you know where the entrances are? Okay. Health and safety. That's my first or second ring?
That's the second ring.
Second
My
ring.
goodness, I
Yeah.
don't know myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming out. All right, that's on me now. Andrew Salimian, if you could just please state your name for the record.
Good evening. Andrew Salimian. I'm the Director of Advocacy for the Los Angeles Conservancy. We're the largest preservation nonprofit in the country in terms of membership. We cover all of LA County. We don't often come to Glendale. We should come more often. But we were asked by some of the residents, some of the neighbors, grassroots advocates, to kind of intercede on this project. Usually our good partners, Glendale Historical Society, does great work. But this is a troubling project for Glendale. So I did come to the city council meeting in February. It was a contentious meeting. I don't know if any of you tuned in. But the city council did see the value of the historic place. It's a great place, and I'm a resident of Pasadena. I see a lot of that kind of Pasadena style there. Norwood and DeLonge, they're kind of lower, prominent firm, but they do great work. There's a building right by Caltech that I've kind of discovered through this project, and I really appreciate it more now. I think the beauty of these courtyard apartments is they serve a community, they create a community, people stay really long, and that's what I've met by meeting some of the tenants there. The units are large, like 3,000 square feet. They have wood-burning stoves, so they're really, really elegant units. It's unfortunate that the developer has approached the project the way he has. And I will just say that we've worked with other developers. One of the projects we worked on and are very proud of is Chase Knowles in Sherman Oaks, which is a garden apartment where they added housing and were able to retain the tenants. And I think there was a win-win here if the owner worked towards that instead of being antagonistic with the city and using the stacked density bonus and AB 130 and using every loophole in the law. I will say I wanted to kind of not just come here and commiserate and give you at least something actionable that you can do to make this project better if it is ever built. And I really do sincerely not think this is an economically viable project. The developer's son kind of said it at City Council. There's a small window of being able to finance this. But I do think within the city code, and we've gone through this in LA and I've gone through it in Pasadena, is there are objective design standards in your code that you can enforce. And I would just say what we're recommending today is you continue the project 2 weeks. It's putting it close to the deadline, but go through your code and figure out what can be enforced. I like the recommendation from the other woman who suggested moving the driveway to the back because that really would help. But go through your code, figure out what's objective, what's subjective, list every standard, and then make those conditions and enforce what you can. So that's what I'm recommending, and I really do thank you for taking this under consideration. It's a massive project, and it'll affect the whole neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Next we got is Beth Brooke, and then followed by David Billette. If you could please say your name for the record.
My name is Beth Brooks.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm not going to be as nice and respectful as he is. I was at that meeting in February with the Brody Group, and I would say to anybody who's developing, do not sell your property to scum. I know that you made him out to be some sort of wonderful human being, but he's a horrible, horrible human being. In February, right after the Eaton fire, this building that he bought, he had vacant units. Even the city council members say, why aren't you opening up these units to people who need housing right now? No, he didn't do that. Then he found out that trees on the property were not historic. He literally, without a permit, I believe, overnight started chopping down trees while people were in their apartments. I mean, this is a scum bag.
Ma'am.
I am sorry, excuse me. I won't use the word bag, just use the word scum. Maybe it sounds a little better. This is a bad person. If you want to develop property, do not sell it to people like this. If you have to sell your property, remember this company, the Brody Group, D.W. Brody. Do not sell property to bad people who don't care about your neighborhood, who only care about greed, who only care about profit, who would put up a monstrosity like this that's supposed to be so attractive. It's attractive to him and attractive to you, but not to the people in the neighborhood. You have to have urban planning. This does not belong, even though it's zoned for that, which is another thing people had better take a look at what your zoning is, because this could be in your backyard depending upon who you sell to. So if people want to buy property, I would say, if you are responsible and decent and moral, get yourselves together a consortium of people who will buy property and build responsible, sustainable, buildings that will respect your neighbors and respect the environment and not put up atrocities so that your bank account goes higher and everybody has to fight you. He's suing the city. What? This is horrific. The man could do the right thing, but he refuses to. So unfortunately, the law is on his side at this point unless you find something to stop him, because I don't think you can try to talk to his sense of morality, because I don't think it exists. So I think, please find a way to override this monstrosity, and shame on you.
All right. David. If you could just state your name for the record, sir.
Good evening. Yes, David Billett. I am a Glenwood homeowner, neighbor, and the more I saw about this project, the more I liked it, the better it looks, and I think it's a great fit for Glendale and a great fit for the location. It's going to replace some apartments rather, which are becoming degraded past their service life, with contemporary and efficient apartments in a Spanish colonial revival style that is prevalent here in Glendale. This project will totally improve the character and look of the neighborhood. This proposal is a good fit for the neighborhood, and since the block is all apartments, it's close to a mid-rise residential tower as well. It will add needed housing to the neighborhood. What makes it ideal is it has a walk score of 82, which is pretty high for Glendale. Many businesses and locations and transportation within walking distance. Good ground transportation, a few minutes to the Glendale, at least 3 Glendale B lines and the Metro bus line. You have a supermarket across the street. You have local markets down the block, walkable to many of the small businesses on Central, Stocker, and Brand. And the space is livable. It does have a beautiful courtyard. In all honesty, I mean, if I were looking to downgrade or move into something a little smaller, a 3-bedroom place in this project would be appealing to me. It makes very good use of that courtyard area. And once the Glendale Bicycle Transportation Plan gets a little further implemented, it'll really take steps to reduce car dependency in the area. It's a good project. It's a good fit for the area. And I think approval is an obvious decision.
Thank you. Next we have is Kyle Bogosian. If you could just say your name for the record, please.
All right, I am Kyle Bogosian. And I wanted to say first, I think the existing building is not attractive. I mean, I'm not an architecture expert, but like the aged stucco and wood slats, it just looks like cheap, like post-war construction boom housing. It does not look very nice to me. And I just think we need some like honest common sense. Like, hello, the emperor has no clothes. It's not a nice building. But when I saw the render of the facade on Central, I was impressed. I think, in my opinion, honestly, I think it would be one of the most attractive buildings in Glendale. People complain a lot about apartments being boring, they're blocky, they're simplistic. This is different. They've obviously put a lot of very costly work into breaking up the front. And on the other sides, it's a nice style. I like the concave curve on the corner. It's like interesting. I think if you're going to have an apartment of this size, which I think we need, then this is probably as good as you can hope for. And I think it looks nice. So I just really hope the committee will play a role in bringing this project forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Let's go into how many callers do we have?
We have 6 callers on the line right now.
Let's start.
Okay. Chris, you're on the line. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Chris Nurhadian, and I'm speaking on behalf of the adjacent properties on Central. So the 2 immediately south of it, 1241 and 1237. Generally speaking, we are for additional housing to Glendale, especially when there is a component of affordable housing. But I do want to stress my concerns in terms of the massing, scale, and just the general contextuality of it. I don't have any issues with the design, but more so, once again, the massing is massive. So perhaps introducing some set downs or step backs along the north and southeast elevation. Perhaps reducing the courtyard and reducing the unit sizes. So you still achieve the same unit count, but are perhaps able to lower the elevation of the building. The unit sizes, I understand, they want to accommodate 3 bedrooms, but they're quite large. So you can still achieve the same unit count, but providing less 3 bedrooms or just smaller 3 bedrooms and smaller 2 bedrooms to the neighborhood. I think that would help achieve a lot of contextuality with the project. And lastly, the southern wall, when you're driving up Central, given the slope of the street, that wall has about a 95-foot height, which is really going to pop up as a monstrosity. So I think, once again, setback, placing terraces, reducing unit sizes could help make the project feel a bit more contextual to its surrounding, to its existing surrounding elements. And that's the end of my comment.
Thank you very much.
Alana, you're on the air. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi there. My name is Alana Waxman, and I live directly next to the proposed construction site. I was at the last city council meeting in February and spoke to the council then. I'm at home right now with my 2-month-old son. I'm literally looking out our bedroom window at what part of this will be. So it's very close to a densely populated area that will have a very negative impact on our entire community here. And it's just devastating that there's so many things at work. I've been listening, to the live stream this whole time, and the sort of mandates and workarounds that have been going on to get this project to this point. And I just hope that the design review board can find ways that this health and safety ordinance would not serve the community because it would be devastating to this community and really push a lot of people out of their homes instead of utilizing the units that are currently vacant in the apartments. And the building is beautiful. The owner is not taking care of the units, and it's not looking great from the outside right now because they cut down a bunch of the trees. But it's a special place, and it's a special area, and there's been a lot of community showing up to try to say no to this as best as we can. So I hope that there's a way through. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Francesca, you're on the line. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, thanks very much. Good evening. It's Francesca Smith calling. I'm a reluctant alumna of the DRB. I'm former staff to the cities of LA and Pasadena, and I am an award-winning qualified architectural historian who agreed with staff that this existing property was locally historic, locally significant at least 6 months ago. My first comment is a question, however rhetorical it may be, and it's to the city's outside counsel for this meeting. 2 weeks ago, I asked Glendale's planning staff in writing about AB 130's narrow statutory CEQA exemption for certain infill developments. According to my friends at Sidley and Austin, the exemption includes, quote, certain projects that would require the demolition of currently occupied housing, which should apply to the proposed project. While I'm not an expert in this recent change to CEQA, because this exemption does exclude certain projects which would require the demolition of currently occupied housing, it sure sounds like that statutory exemption would apply to Glendale Garden Home. Could you please explain what that certain project qualifier means? Does it mean only owner-occupied properties, or does it mean, as stated, currently occupied housing? The last time I checked, there were at least 7 occupied units at Glendale Garden Homes. I asked staff more than 2 weeks ago about this. Unfortunately, Cassandra Pruitt responded today after 4 p.m. and answered a question that I did not ask regarding historic significance. I will reserve expressing my professional judgments and personal judgments regarding the applicant and their counsel, but they would include the adjective greed, avarice, slumlords, insatiable, and heartless. I can assure you that Jerry Brown's phrase, elegant density, would not apply to this cheap, gargantuan, maximum density proposed project. As an architectural historian, I can tell you that the comparison to the Santa Barbara County Courthouse, completed in 1929, which is shown in the blurry Friedman slide, is 3 stories high with a 5-story tower, not 8. It is not comparable to this. Its unique scale and proportions have been long celebrated in academia. In that complex, the massing is visually reduced by deep differences in varied wall angles and depth from the street front. It's set back far from the street in beautifully manicured gardens. It's also listed in the National Register. It's a designated National Historic Landmark and a California Historical Landmark. Frankly, you seem to have no shame. You have embarrassed yourselves by comparing your proposed cheap, monstrous, take every inch that you can, we are too cheap to even use actual through-the-glass Muntins project with sprayed-on stucco. Madam Outside Counsel, would you please answer my question regarding the new CEQA exemption and how it applies to occupied housing? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next caller.
Hi, Alan. You're on the line. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name for the record.
Good evening, and thank you. Design Review Board, my name is Alan Dish, for the record. I'm a neighbor in the neighborhood. I would like to, first thank the people who are there, neighbors and the developer, and just to list some of my thoughts. Yes, first, of course, we need housing, and I agree. This is a much better solution, building these kind of projects rather than ADUs in people's backyards. I'm just worried about some things. First, my friend who was in the audience, Kyle Bogosian, was saying that the property doesn't look good. Okay, it's a subjective point, but I would just say it doesn't look good now because it was purposefully, I think, over the last couple of years left to, deteriorate, especially when the trees were cut in, I believe, April. That was, I think, something quite shady, the way the trees were cut down, and the pun is intended. It was around Earth Day. It was around even Arbor Day in the city, and a lot of some of the windows were damaged while the trees were cut down. We're talking 30 of these big mature trees that existed there. Okay, to undo some of that damage, I recently planted some trees of my own. I planted some trees. I would just like to also state that back in February, the consultant herself called this existing garden homes a, quote, socialist utopia. We're all going to hang out, end of quote. So, but I want to thank the developer, at least, who said they are looking to have a community ethos at the proposed site. So I would just like to ask if that could also be extended to the neighbors. My father just recently said, in Armenian it sounds more intense, but he said, when I told him what's going on, that it appears no one cares about the neighbors. They are just wasting their time at the meeting. I hope that will not be the case. And I stopped. But you see my point, that the way the trees were cut down, it was devastating, not for just cheap environmental reasons. I mean, they give us shade, they clean our air. I've even noticed, you may think I'm bluffing, but the air quality has already diminished in our microclimate here in this northern part of Brandon Central, I stopped. So hello to my friend Kyle Bogosian and also to Mr. Damian Sullivan and Ms. Beth Brooks. Have a good rest of your meeting. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Just
Paul, you're on the line. Please
last
state your
caller.
name for the record. You have 3 minutes. Oh. We actually have 3 more callers. A couple have joined since.
Okay.
Mal, you are on the line. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name for the record. Are you there? Hello, Mal? I'll put it on
They
hold
wanna
and,
call back, yeah.
okay. Sonia, you're on the line. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Sonia Reyes, and I'm a resident here at Glendale. I actually live at 1245 Viola, and I was concerned about safety. They did mention that they were going to do a 6-story building on this side where the coal stack is at. That's where I live. And I did hear something about the fire. What about if there's a fire? That's going to be a concern in our end because it is a coal stack. It's a dead end. And if this 6-story building gets on fire, that's going to be very concerning for us, the residents here. So, I mean, it's a very beautiful planning. You know, it looks really nice. I do agree with affordable housing. But, I mean, if the owner would have wanted this affordable housing, he would have opened that when the Eaton fire happened. There was a lot of people out there that needed homes, and it was never open or offered to them. It's a very beautiful apartment. So far, there are people living still there, and they say it's very beautiful, 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. I feel like it could be renewed, remodeled, and offered to people that actually need it. Why destroy it when you could, save your money pockets and just help the community if you really want to help the community here in Glendale? And just to let you guys know, I've been here for 3 years. I lived in Koreatown for 13 years, and the reason why I moved from there is because it got overpopulated. They started building higher buildings, and there was less parking on the street, and people fighting over parking, and I see that happening here if you guys let this happen. So let me tell you guys that the city of Glendale is a very beautiful, beautiful city, and I would hate to leave.
All right.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kristen, you're on the line. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name for the record.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Kristen Schneider. I am also a neighbor in Glendale, living just up the street. And first of all, shame on all the people who came in and are trying to sell us on this idea that this is a beautiful thing that's helping the community. We all know that you're lying to us. We've been fighting with you about trees and housing, and, you know, this is just silly. So please don't even try it with us. But as far as safety and health, what I'm trying to understand is, first of all, we are now in one of the highest fire hazard areas, according to the state. They just released the maps earlier this year after the fire. And I would like to understand, if we are in now the highest fire zone, you can see it, it's bright red on the map, how we are now going to build a 6-story building on a street that is 1 lane going each way, and how I'm going to survive when I've got a couple 300 new neighbors trying to get out of 2 driveways on my street if there's another major fire. We live, I don't know, half a block down the hill from the dead end of Kenneth. So that, to me, seems like a huge safety hazard, and I don't understand how either the fire or the traffic teams didn't bother to put in any reports. I'm also going to be emailing about that, because shame on them also for not addressing this issue, because we have a huge evacuation problem with a building like that needs to be taken into account. So I also just think the density is insane. They know it's insane. We know it's insane. There's plenty of other places this could be that's not on a residential area. And I'd also like to understand at some point why the density of this area has never been addressed, knowing that these density bonuses were coming. We've been talking about this for years. Like, why is this the highest density area? It's silly. It's crowded. You know, they show a giant Ralph's. Our Ralph's is not the size of the Ralph's that they're showing on these pictures. So yeah, I think this all needs to be considered, but please look at the fire safety issue. That's a big thing for our neighborhood. We'd like to feel safe in our own houses. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I'll try that last caller one more time.
Thank you.
Mal Sharif, are you there? You're on the line. Mal Sharif, are you there? I think we lost this caller.
All right.
Okay.
Going to close the phone line, and then we're just going to give the applicant a time to rebuttal right now. Yeah, I know if you could just, again, please say your name for the record. And then what's the time for the rebuttal?
It's 5 minutes? Yes.
I think maybe 6, but I think that should be fine. Daniel Friedman with Jeffrey Mangels, Butler and Mitchell on behalf of the applicant here again. Thank you so much. Okay, so where do I start? First off, I want to address the personal attacks, which I shouldn't have to address, but I will. The units, this applicant has been working on this project for a long time, and the units are slated for demolition. To put people into units that are slated for demolition is both mean and totally inappropriate. So there's a reason why these units were not rented, as they are proposed for demolition. Finally, with respect to the removal of the trees, which is being proposed as some grand conspiracy, the applicant was ordered to remove the trees. They were threatened to lose their insurance on the property. But, you know, it's easier to call people greedy and speculate and say mean things about people than to actually care about the reality of what happened. With respect to the Conservancy's comments about this, the applicant has a loophole. No, it's not a loophole, it's the law, it's the rules. That's just what the rules say. The loophole is what the Conservancy is attempting to ask you to do, which is absurd. The idea that the Conservancy asks you to go search through the code and look for objective standards which may have been missed, and then, we're gonna kill this project at the very last minute. Well, that's not legal. You can't enforce any objective standard that has not already been raised in your notice of inconsistency. And if you find one, it's been deemed consistent as a matter of law. So it's totally inappropriate that they requested that, and it would be totally illegal for the city to do that. With respect to the construction schedule, I don't think my client has any objection to working with some of the neighbors to provide a construction schedule when one's available. With respect to the comment about asbestos and lead abatement is a required process. It is heavily regulated. Obviously, my client is going to comply with every requirement for asbestos and lead abatement. There's no question about that. Comments have been raised about the tenants. Well, I do want to note that the tenants will be provided relocation as required by Glendale Municipal Code. They will also be invited back when the building's done. That is a requirement under state law. So they may be displaced for a period. They will be provided relocation, but by state law, they will be provided an opportunity to come back to the building when it's done. With respect to the comment at asking this body to adjust the unit count, that just wouldn't work because it would change the economics of the project. The way the unit count has been allocated is to specifically accommodate the affordable units that are in there. Those 3-bedroom units are necessary. There was comments that there should be more thought provided to this project. The applicant's been working on this project since 2004. 2004. There's no more thought. We got to move it forward. This project is, and I want to make one more point with respect to those people who spoke in support, doesn't matter what my personal thought is, but I do personally agree. If you go into the city of LA or some of the neighboring jurisdictions and you look at what density bonus projects look like, they don't look like this. They look like glass boxes. That's what could be built here. And you'd be here with the same conundrum, the exact same conundrum. An applicant comes with a glass box with all flat walls. And all the direction you were given by the city attorney about this project, you're going to get the exact same direction. It's just the law. It's the way it is. So I would say I think the applicant has done a really nice job proposing a project with architectural design and elements that I think the city should be proud of. That an applicant who didn't have to do any of this chose to do it because he cares about the property, cares about the future of the area. Finally, with respect to this concept of, using conditions to rejigger the development profile. This happened, there was a case, and I just want to read the case decision so you can understand how the court analyzed this. A question was proposed to the court on a density bonus case. Well, can the city adjust the height and demand that a applicant remove a courtyard and redesign the building to satisfy an association's subjective concerns? And the court said, under the density bonus law, a city may only impose such development standards if not doing so would have a specific adverse impact upon health or safety, and for which there is no feasible method to satisfactorily mitigate or avoid specific adverse impacts, or would have an adverse impact on any real property that is listed in the California Register, or to grant any waiver or reduction that would be contrary to state or federal law. So what this decision, and this is the Banker Hill 150 v. City of South San Diego decision, says is that there's a reason why an applicant is entitled to an opportunity to ask for waivers and incentives to objective development design requirements if they exist. You can't at the last minute say, we want to apply subjective standards when they weren't given an opportunity to ask for waivers or incentives in the first place. So I urge the commission to approve the project. I would ask that it be approved. Applicant is agreeable to the conditions, subject to the one caveat, which we would request some clarification on, just so we're all on the same page, and move this important project forward. And then finally, I just want to remind that my client didn't set the density for this site. This is housing the city asked for. And the question is, well, I don't think it's a question, but I think it's an important note that they provided a beautiful building to provide for that density.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
Before you sit down, did anyone have any questions for the applicant or anyone that's on teams, the architect, our landscape architect, or the consultant?
I have a question about the bridge that links these two buildings. Why is it necessary, and couldn't it be removed?
It's my understanding it's an important architectural element, but also an element for providing movement between the buildings.
Well, there's ground floor access. All buildings have elevator access, so it seems to me it might be superfluous and not really needed, and it's a big contributor to the perceived mass of the building.
Well, I would note that there's also ingress-egress requirements that are likely also at issue here. That includes access to stairwells for fire escape issues.
Yeah, there's plenty of those in both buildings. So.
Well, look, it's part of the project. It's part of the design. We don't believe you have, at this stage, the ability to reduce massing on subjective concerns. If there was an objective standard applicable, the project team should have been made aware of it before.
Mr. Welch, if I may interrupt, if the architect's on the line, it might be beneficial to have them speak to this because I believe there was some back and forth with the fire department. So if the architect has any clarification to add about why this was necessary to meet fire standards. Who is it? Sammy Tabrizi? Is Sammy available?
Yes, hi.
Did you hear the question, Mr.
Yes.
Welch?
So, yes, there was dialogue with the fire department regarding circulation, access to the roof, ingress, egress, exiting. And obviously that's a lot more achievable with a bridge connecting the two passes together. So that's why that element is there.
So in other words, the fire department required it. Is that what you're saying? What you're saying?
That's correct.
Any other questions?
Did you consider adding a second driveway access to the project? Perhaps, as this board had suggested, like at the rear, even if it's just an exit only onto Viola?
I believe it was considered, but I don't think it worked, based on the site layout and the parking design.
Board member, that was one of my questions. I mean, we're adding approximately, well, not approximately, 149 units. If on average there's 2 individuals living there, it's
Actually,
you know, is that
over
a
300 bedrooms.
300 bedrooms?
317 bedrooms.
That's right. So I was being generous, I suppose. So, I mean, does that constitute a safety, health and safety? I mean, we can impose that question. We're not the governing board in that matter, but at least we can impose that question.
I believe they had a transportation traffic study done and demonstrated that there was no adverse impact from having just the one point of ingress and egress. Is that correct? Yes, okay.
Essentially, that was not something that they stated need to be changed in order to meet their standards.
Even the fire department thought that was okay, if there was gonna be like all those people in case of an emergency trying to get out of the building. I think that was something that was brought up originally in 2023, that in case of an emergency, that it was just gonna like cram Central. That I think it's 2 lanes or 2 lanes going into 1 at that point, if I'm not mistaken, on Central.
It's 1 in front and then it expands to 2
One in
below
front.
Stalker, I think.
Yeah.
Perhaps, so the comments received from all of the departments were shared with the applicant, and the applicant has been incorporating that feedback into their project design. So I don't know if the architect and/or whoever was working on that wants to speak to that in terms of how they addressed all those comments. But my understanding is that they've been addressing the critical comments that have come from the departments.
Okay, any other questions?
Just, I mean, those are just curiosity. Is there any EV charger in this?
I'm pretty sure there's a requirement to provide EV charging, right? 'Cause
And any drop-off?
I think it's just a building code.
That's right, yeah. I just didn't see it on your drawing, so I was just curious too. And any drop-off area for delivery, you know, whether that's FedEx, Amazon, UPS?
Sammy, is there a drop-off area?
I believe there's a drop-off area in the driveway.
Any other questions? Nope. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
All right. We do not have any more callers. We went through all of the cards that we had here. So we'll close it out, go into deliberation now. You want to kick it off, Board Member Walsh?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is really a tough one, and I mean, I may as well just be blunt. I'm not. I think we're kind of wasting our time here because we really don't seem to have any discretion whatsoever. And even if we figure out some way to, you know, do a return for redesign or add conditions that are not objective standards, you know, it's clear the developer would just appeal it to city council or file a lawsuit or something. So I'm really stuck feeling like I have nothing to add. So I'll talk about, you know, what I would have said, you know, if I felt I had some discretion, and we'll leave that for where it goes. So I'll start with you know, generally speaking, I do agree that the project is a pretty project. It's very overscaled, but, you know, obviously there's not much we can do about that. And they have done some work here at the front to have the scale less at the street facade where it's, most impactful. And they've done some nice variations in design and details and material choices. So, from that perspective, it's good. Where I really object to is the site planning and how they've pushed the 6-story massing out to the limits of what they can do in terms of setbacks and enable this big open courtyard, which is very nice and it'll be a nice amenity for the residents. But for the properties abutting it, it's pushing the massing as close as possible to them. And that's one of the things that, as a board, we've been tasked with, is helping to transition between existing projects and new projects so that we don't have massive 6-story blank walls facing, single-family homes. Because that's really what's being put on the table here, is that they're putting a 6-story mass against a single-family 1-story home. And while I'll agree, I don't think that we have had an objective standard to govern that, and I think maybe that the city has been working on developing some objective standards, but we've certainly never allowed that in the past at this board level. And it's clear that this new state law, AB 130, is really restricting us, not just about the density and the unit counts and the height and stuff like that, which were there before, but now we can't even impose any kind of adjustments or work with the applicant to tweak things a little bit. I mean, they literally could move the massing of this building away from the sites or do it in such a way where you could have at least upper story setbacks that's, from the perspective of somebody sitting in their backyard at a single family home, don't face up a 6-story wall. Instead, they can, see more balconies and setbacks and things like that. But I'm hearing I can't dictate that. I can't propose that. But if it were me, that is exactly what I would propose. I would propose that the massing, that the way that they've done the site planning has basically given all of the excess space to the courtyard, which is solely an amenity to the project site, and is a detriment to the buildings and properties surrounding it, because they've pushed the 6-story massing to the maximum limits that they could, which I think is inappropriate. So, aside from that, I agree with staff's conditions, and I would like to see how we could potentially work on mitigating this, especially this facade that faces the single-family neighbors, because it's very overbearing. And all of the facades on the north, south, and west basically are just straight up, solid 6 stories tall, with, the only breaks in that are maybe a little bit of indentations for balconies and things like that. And that's not normally something we would have approved in the past. And certainly 2 years ago when we reviewed the case, we didn't. We made strong recommendations to change those things. But the applicant has really not done that. I agree with Ms. Pruitt that they really did not take any of our feedback and incorporate that into the project. If anything, they made it bigger, more massive, taller, and pushed further against the edges and the setbacks. So those are my thoughts. I'm not sure how I'll vote, but those are my thoughts on the project. So,
Thank you. Member Halajin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess when we don't have the necessary tools to make the right decisions, not just for the applicant, but also to the community that we serve, it puts us in a rock and a hard place. That's how I feel. And we are in that place right now, and we have to be fair to the applicant and we have to be fair to our community. So with that said, that's why it's very important to pay attention to city and state legislators, because that impacts directly how we live. So sometimes we get the noise on the national or global news, but we forget the important local news that we should be involved. And before even it gets to our public hearing session. So with that said, if we cannot influence or if we cannot have any say about the mass and scale, because this is direct, I was refreshing my memory again with the city ordinances. I mean, most of this project conflicts with most of the ordinances. I mean, no doubt. So if we cannot influence the mass and scale, because the law is on their side, we can have the ordinance that says, the applicant has to use some high-quality material. So we can focus on that. So, for example, I couldn't help to notice the railings. There was a note on, I think it was 8.1 elevations. It says it's galvanized or painted handrails. I would strongly suggest to place a condition that these railings to be not galvanized, and they should be painted with high-performance coating, that withstand the weather and the environment. So instead of having galvanizing, on the same token, any exterior accessories that have, for example, discharge points for exhausts, they also must be of high-quality material. So I would propose something, maybe stainless steel or aluminum, painted aluminum, and not galvanized. So, and then, I don't know if you got a chance to my colleagues to review the window schedule. Most of those windows and sliding doors consist of vinyl. Maybe we can put a condition to make it of a higher quality material, at least the first 2 levels that are they have direct visibility, not just from the neighbor, but also from the street. So I believe we can influence this, we can impose these conditions.
Can we put those conditions on?
Yes, I think those are acceptable conditions.
So, in other words, if we cannot impose any condition on the mass and scale, we can make the project objectively better, right, by using higher quality material. So that's how I feel, and that's what I would suggest my colleagues to consider. So, those are my thoughts.
Thank you.
Barbara, did you want to confirm on that? My understanding is those types of conditions would be acceptable because they don't conflict with the density bonus incentives.
Yes, one area where we do disagree with the applicant is the ability to use subjective guidelines to apply conditions. In a case called Carla v. City of San Mateo, the plaintiff actually argued, and the court agreed, that a subjective standard could be used to apply a condition of approval so long as it didn't deny the project or reduce the density. And the conditions you've discussed don't do either of those. So that's our general advice.
Thank you.
Well, I don't believe our suggestion or my suggestions are subjective. I think there's a clear distinction, between cheaper material versus higher quality material, and that reflects, in the project or the product specification as well as cost, arguably. So I'm curious about your thoughts on the matter. So.
Thank you, Board Member Halajian. Thank you to everyone coming out tonight, speaking. Really important for everyone to be vocal on a lot of these issues. In 2023, this was, I think, one of my first projects that I remember when I got on the DRB that we were deliberating then. And my original thought was, when I saw this property, was that it reminded me of a Cabo resort. And although I have no issues with, building in our community, I'm in support of housing, it's very necessary and all that stuff. There comes a point where, the design and the look and feel of how these need to look in our communities need to match how it's going to be displayed, especially something that's going to be there for a very long time. I was hoping that when this was coming back, we would have seen a little bit more of an adjustment, but we did see, the mass and scale of this one get bigger. I fully, it's very important for us to have these housing, and especially, with the cost of living going up. I think Daniel had brought up, that there's not that many apartment complexes that, have 2 or 3 bedrooms, which I totally agree with. I live in an apartment in Glendale. It's very hard for us to find those types of units as well. So it is a necessity for us to have. But that being said, with this project, just driving up and down Central, I just kept thinking, like, what is this going to look like in this community? It is going to be massive in the sense of the houses that are nearby are going to have, this big wall up against it, next to them. But our hands are tied in regards to, the massing and scaling of this project, unfortunately. But it's very important for community members to also, like Board Member Halajian brought up, is, get involved in local politics, especially on the state level. There's a lot of work that we need to be doing so that, we don't always run into these issues, especially with more housing requirements that are going to be coming down the line. Overall, I'm on the same boat, Board Member Welsh, of I don't know. But I do agree with Board Member Halajian's recommendation in regards to the materials. If this is a project that is going to be in the city, and that's something that we're going to be looking at all the time, let's use materials that are going to last, and just aesthetically make it a little bit nicer. Don't have anything in regards to the design. I think it's great. I just don't know if it was the right fit for this area.
Mr. Chair, if I may add, for the record, I do like the design. I do like the Spanish colonial revival design. It is a beautiful, an architect has done a nice job, and I do love the landscaping. But the landscaping is as good as, the maintenance, right? So, even the applicant said they are here to stay. This is a long-term, hold for them. Yeah. So since that's the case, I'm sure they would appreciate with a higher quality, using higher quality material that would reduce their maintenance costs. So why not take that avenue and see if we can come to a consensus?
Board Member Welsh, is your thought on anything?
I mean, I don't disagree with your proposed conditions to increase the quality of the materials. The only other thing that we might think about, would be particularly on that western and, well, the northwest and south facades. Do you want to add more conditions around, colors, materials, balconies? There's a lot of stucco, so you could ask that they modify the material palettes and color palettes to break it up a little bit more visually, even though it won't impact the actual massing.
And Board Member Welch, just to be on the same page, you're looking at this elevation particularly, right?
Yes, because that's the one that faces the single-family neighborhoods in particular.
There's certainly a room for improvement there. I do agree with that. And if you have any suggestions, let's.
Well, I mean, staff had put together some considerations, including use a variety of architectural strategies to reduce the apparent massing of the project, including material variation, varying wall thickness as viewed from the exterior, and horizontal feature stuffs at large, flat, vertical surfaces. or phrase it like she said, use similar approaches as employed at the front to achieve greater design consistency across the project. And, you know, examples of that is, you know, there's some veneer stones, there's some use of shutters, different types of balconies. So, you know, there's a few things that you could propose.
Yeah, if we can get the conditions up,
Well, those are the considerations that she had asked beyond the conditions.
oh, that's right.
Those are the conditions.
Recommended So, just to be clear, recommended conditions are not conditions.
This is what staff recommends for the board,
Okay.
and these would be okay to require, given the restrictions with density bonus?
Okay, so, Mr. Chair, why don't we go through these recommended conditions, and if we agree, and
Yeah.
we make it a condition, and if we need to add anything to it, let's see how far we can go.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was fine with all of those, so it was fine. And it seemed like the applicant was fine with them as well. He just raised a, you know, clarification on number one, but I don't think that there's really any objection to anything there.
Yeah, I don't have any objections to this. We can make it all conditions.
Okay, so we're good with these conditions. And then the next ones were the considerations?
Considerations or conditions, Mr. Chair?
No, these ones are here.
These were her considerations for
Oh, I'm
us.
sorry.
Particularly at the rear side.
Through deliberations, these could be fleshed out into conditions, getting to what Mr. Welch was saying.
Mr. Walsh, I mean, if you have any particular recommendation, I'm open to, you know, to make it more specific, project specific rather than.
Well, I mean, I'm probably a no on this, but, you know, I can give some thoughts on it, and
Sure.
you can decide what you might do. So, again, the first thing that I would suggest is variation of balcony treatments. The balconies that I see on the north side are all the same, and you could change that. So some of them could be more open balconies, and not just the stucco boxes with just some little relief sections there in the centers. Colors. You could change up some of their vertical forms on the facades that become maybe more variegated colors than is there now. It's like a cream and a lighter cream.
Mm-hmm.
And so you could maybe suggest some different color treatments to change that up and create more differentiation between the building masses. And then on the northwest corner there, it's like mostly small windows with some, you know, architectural banding that's sort of done there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could propose the banding be different color materials or different materials, period, for those bandings to, you know, again, break up the big, you know, straight stucco walls.
Yep. Board Member Walsh, I do agree with all the comments you made. I mean, I think they're fantastic suggestions, you know, or even conditions, if you will.
Okay. Do we want to move forward?
And then I would like to add a couple more about the railings to be not use galvanized, to be painted with high-performance paint that is suited for exterior. And any accessories such as discharge points for exhaust, if they are metal, to be not use galvanized and to be of aluminum or painted metal. As far as the windows, I would like at least to see the first two floors to be higher quality And I'll leave it to the applicant to decide what quality they want to go with other than vinyl. They could use fiberglass, they could use wood and metal, so I leave that to that discretion, but I'll make that a condition.
On the elevation, they had called out on the material board Fibrex, Anderson 100 Series Fibrex dark bronze frame window. You had mentioned in the window schedule that you sell vinyl. Do you know what sheet that's on? Maybe we can have them make that consistent.
I'm looking at SC.2.
Okay.
So
oh, there it is. Just navigating through the very long plan set. Okay, here we go.
it's under each window type.
Mm-hmm. It lists Anderson Fibrex 100 Series dark bronze frame windows on the sheet.
I'm reading underneath each, maybe the third line, second line. It's vinyl.
Vinyl sliding door.
Vinyl sliding doors and what have you, so.
Vinyl swinging door. Vinyl swinging door and window system.
Oh, I'm not, I'm not seeing that. I'm wondering if there's a discrepancy in the plan set. I see what you're saying. Maybe we can just, we can have the condition ensure that it's consistent across the drawing set that they're Fibrex. Would that be acceptable? Fibrex windows?
Any thoughts on that, Fibrex? I'm not. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so consistent with the.
Okay. I mean, we could list other material too.
Oh,
Can I ask a clarification question?
Sure.
Because you talked about painted balconies and stuff like that. Do you mean powder coated?
powder coated would be one great option. If they don't want to do powder coating, which is a pre-finished material, they could do, if they want to paint it in place, they could use some high-performance paints that are available out there and not galvanized. Because galvanizing, over the years, it will just disappear, and it will just, you see the rust, and, coming down. So there's some high-performance coatings out there that will last a lifetime, so.
Better even than powder coating, in your mind?
That's the industry argument, some, depending who you ask. I personally prefer powder coating over painting in place.
As do I.
Yeah, so that's my opinion, but I also want to leave the applicant with some options if they choose so.
Okay, so powder coating or using a high quality, high performance
paint.
Okay.
Prime and paint, yeah, rather and not galvanized.
I am planning to summarize these back to you at the end. I was just waiting for you to finish the deliberations.
Okay. Do you have everything now?
Would you like me to go over them and clarify? So the railings and any metal accessories such as exhaust vent, is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
They would not use galvanized metal. Instead, they would use stainless steel or painted aluminum or a powder coating.
Yep.
And the painted aluminum would be using a high-performance coating or powder coating.
That's right.
Okay. The windows would not use vinyl. Instead, they would use Fibrex 100 per the plan set, Series 100 per the. That would be consistent across the plan set, using those types of windows.
Yep.
Doors too, right?
And doors as well, yes.
And doors, okay. I'll need a little bit of clarification on the variation in the balcony treatments. Some of the balconies could be open, and I didn't catch exactly what you were saying about the ones that were not open.
Well, I think the idea was that for staff to work with the applicant to create some variation in the treatment of balconies in each facade, so that it wasn't just one type of balcony treatment along the facade, that there was maybe potentially some multiple variations of balcony treatments to give it more, to not be so, consistent across it.
Okay.
Because I don't actually object to how they're doing the balconies in different places. Some of them are just sort of wrought iron hanging ones, like on the front facade there, which is quite lovely. Even the ones that are stucco, with the little inset things. The insets would be better if they were done in a sort of adobe kind of a look, with more orangey color
right.
treatment.
That's right.
But, it's just, the idea is that along the whole facade, they're all the same. And if you wanted to try and break up the massing, you could just, in some of the stacks, you might have, or in this half of the building, it's this treatment, the other next half of the building, it might be the metal railings.
Yep.
And you maybe accompany that with some color variations in those sections, so that, again, it just makes it look like two different buildings, or, variation between them, so that it's not just one big mass.
I think that's an excellent suggestions, board member.
Okay. And then you mentioned color treatments to create differential between the building masses. I think that's pretty clear. And then you talked about the northwest corner. I think you said the northwest corner.
Yes.
There's some banding using different color or material
Yes.
on the banding. Okay.
Probably materials would be better, used like like they did the stone veneers, kind of thing on the facade, to tie that in those areas.
Okay. And then that's all I have is for the conditions that were discussed, in addition to the ones that were recommended on the slide.
Do we have a motion? Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion to vote on approval with the conditions stated.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll move it if you want, so I'll second it.
Okay. Roll call. Chair Koskanian?
I vote to approve.
With conditions as stated?
Yep.
Chair Halajian, or I'm sorry, Board Member Halajian?
I would say, in any other circumstance, I would have rejected this, but I'm going to vote yes on this one,
Approve with conditions?
with conditions.
Okay. Chair, Board Member Welch?
No.
Okay. The motion passes with to approve with condition.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on the agenda, the Community Development Department does not have any updates, and I guess the final would be to vote to adjourn.
Yeah.
I move we adjourn.
It's an easy one after.
That's the easy one.
It is
but-
8:11 PM. Thank you.